Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Creative Exploration with Purz. I'm here with my friend Akatz, and we're going to make some GD stuff tonight. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. Let us know in the comments if it's all jacked up. So Akatz has been making nodes for a while, and he's got a platform. I'm going to let him explain all that stuff. But we've been orbiting a bit, and this is our first chance to really dive in and hang out. So we're looking forward to it. And say hello to the people.
Yeah, thank you, Purz,
Yeah, for
so
sure.
much for setting this up and letting me have a chance to come on here and share some of the cool work that I've been up to. So I pretty much started, I think, playing with ComfyUI earlier this year, like really diving into it.
Yeah,
Um, and like when I started, I think some of your videos were some of the first that I watched to get a
awesome.
grip on how to put together some more complicated workflows. Like specifically, I think you did a stream with JBoogs, and you guys were masking out like the Civet AI
Mm-hmm.
logo.
Yeah,
That one was super useful because I think from there I got an idea of how to do a masking, and a lot of my workflows, make heavy use of masks. Um, so. Yeah, so anyway, I guess I could just give a little a background on me. I'm a San Diego native, born and raised. I went to school at University of Arizona, got a computer science degree, and then I went into the industry as a full-time software developer. And I was working at Qualcomm, so I worked there for 3 years. Then COVID hit, and then I got pretty burnt out. So I wanted to try and find something that made more use of my creative abilities and get more into like the graphics and art space, which was what was more captivating, more interesting for me. So I pretty much started heading in that direction pretty quickly. I found Stable Diffusion 1.4 um, on Twitter early on. I think there was also it was like early images of DALL-E were really interesting to me, but it was still pretty new at the time. So I think Stable Diffusion 1.4 was like when it started to get really good, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing piece of technology. Um, and I saw that Quarter Crew video. I don't know if you saw that one with Nico, where he
yeah.
did a dream booth on all of his coworkers' faces and made this like storybook, and that to me just blew my mind. I was like, this is amazing technology. Like I can't believe more people are getting into this space and like and playing with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think within like the first 2 days, I made a dream booth model of my own face, and just played around with it and was like, this is so sick. So from then on, I was pretty firmly in the, like, okay, I want to dive into Stable Diffusion. I want to learn more about this. Like, I want to see where this goes. So I played around with like Automatic 1111 for a little bit, uh, but it wasn't until earlier this year that I fully sort of transitioned over to ComfyUI. And ComfyUI just gives you so much more flexibility. Like,
Yeah.
at the beginning, I was so scared. I saw the noodles, right? Like
Option
everybody was
paralysis
talking
too,
about.
right? You're like, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly. I saw, but like I saw that the latest and greatest techniques and like workflows that were coming out were all on ComfyUI, and it took a while for Automatic 1111 to sort of catch up to where Comfy was. So I knew I was gonna have to learn it at some point, but like, it's always daunting to sit down and just be like, okay, I got to learn a new skill. Like I got to sit down and just focus on this.
Yeah.
Um, but I could say after spending, the better part of this year learning it, it's super worth it. Like it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's getting better, all the time. Like they're putting a lot of effort, and I'm trying to do what I can to add more functionality to it over time as well. So, but yeah, pretty much this is my full-time pursuit right now. I've just pretty much thrown myself into the space. I'm trying to see kind of where it goes and what opportunities pop up.
Yeah.
But for the time being, yeah, I've been building workflows, trying to put together custom nodes, and just sort of seeing where uh, there's problems in the space and see where I can apply my software engineering skills to sort of help fill in some of those gaps. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
that's pretty much, yeah, that's my backstory, I would say.
Oh, that's awesome. And you have a platform too, right?
Yeah. So actually, I guess going back a little bit, right after I saw the quarter video with the 1.5, I think it was 1.4 Dream Booth,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to make a platform so that people can train their own face on this model, because like I was able to do it, but I had to rent a run pod instance
Yeah.
and do a bunch of work, and it took like 2 days for me to actually get a good like trained Dream Booth model.
Yeah.
Like this needs to be automated. Um, and so I was thinking, okay, well, like step one is I need to have a site where you can actually just generate images. So so I basically was like, okay, I need to learn full stack development.
Yeah.
Right,
Like
because that's the next
step
step.
one, do the whole thing.
Yeah. So the first step was learn full stack. I had, played around with AWS a little bit, but not to like a crazy extent. But I pretty much just fully threw myself into it. Started to learn back end, front end, using React and JavaScript and HTML, like the whole everything. And I
Mm-hmm.
pretty much just focused on that for like I'd say eight months to a year, and
Yeah.
just built the site. And it's live right now. If we go to redream.ai, you can actually see it here. Let me navigate.
Yeah, your stream's up, so go ahead and show.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I went ahead and built this the site, and you can go to like the image generation tab, and you can go browse like some of the community models here. So I put a decent amount of effort into building this, and the goal for the most part was actually not to make like a crazy successful SaaS or anything. It was just I wanted to learn. Like I wanted to learn how to make like a full stack uh, SaaS from beginning to end, and just learn how like that process works, and also learn generative AI. So eventually, I could turn this site into the Dream Booth training site that I wanted from the beginning. And I haven't quite gotten it there yet. Like I still have some plans for it in the future, but right now I'm pretty much just working on ComfyUI and sort of like helping that ecosystem grow. But yeah, like I have Redream, it's sort of on the back burner,
Yeah.
and I have some ideas for it in the future. But yeah, I mean, I learned a lot. Like I learned a lot from putting this all together. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
really awesome experience.
I mean, you wrap
It
the whole pipeline in a website. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so actually, so the back end for this is diffusers. So
Yeah.
the Hugging Face like Python library, just raw diffusers, just put together some different functions to do like image to image, like text to image, and I even put in animation. So let's see if I have the animation feature. Yeah, so I have like AnimateDiff, like the early version of AnimateDiff. I was able to get working with
Yeah,
just
nice.
like users.
I also noticed the diffusers version of AnimateDiff has its own particular vibe too. It doesn't look exactly like Comfy's version.
Yeah, for sure. And that was like it is a good and bad thing, right? Because
Yeah.
there were so many cool, comfy workflows that had all these extra bells and whistles that I couldn't just immediately take and like make use of it. So it takes like a sort of different approach when you're going the diffusers, like pure diffusers route versus like ComfyUI. But I think what's really amazing about ComfyUI is it sort of lets you visualize the entire diffusion process, right? Like,
Hmm.
what does it mean to have like clip and like encode something with the VAE, and then pipe those into the sampler? Like you can sort of see how the pipeline is set up.
Yeah.
Whereas in diffusers, like in pure code, it's a little bit more tricky to just get.
Obfuscated. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Comfy is really good just to learn like the base diffusion process. and then from there, obviously you can scale up workflows in Comfy as crazy as you want.
Yeah,
But
that's what Comfy himself always says when during like the Q&As and stuff, the conferences is like the best way to learn diffusion is to start up ComfyUI and drop the default workflow in, then you can just see what a diffusion pipeline is. Like it's right there in front of you.
yeah, totally. I didn't he say like he made Comfy because he wanted to learn like how
Yeah,
that whole process
exactly.
works?
It's just probably the same problem you had where you're just like trying to mash code together, not sure what goes where or why, and then,
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean, I also thought about a node-based editor too, because I think that sort of makes sense to be able to prototype quickly. Because
Mhm.
sort of like I've gotten to the point where I see Comfy as it's sort of like a visual programming language, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you can there's data flow. It's the same as you would have in like a Python program or with diffusers. It's like data flows from top to bottom in code, but in Comfy it mostly goes left to right. So yeah, I think it's something I was thinking about, but of course, like my idea then was very quickly turned into a reality by Comfy. So yeah, but I mean, I really like Comfy. I think it's awesome. It's definitely especially when I was first learning, I was like, this is more insane than whatever I was probably gonna if I had actually spent some time and built something. So
Tim Truth just asked why you didn't use Comfy in the SaaS backend performance, and I said probably GPL3.
yeah.
I mean, you can use it. You just have to open source your entire code base, right? So, like,
Mm.
if you're trying to make a proprietary product, it's not the best backend if you don't want somebody to copy you immediately, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not like an expert in copyright or anything. I know there's like a couple different licenses, like there's GPL 3 or 2, but
Yeah,
there's also AGPL, and I think the AGPL one is the one where you're not allowed to put the code on the back end and actually host it because if you can do that, but then you have to open source your code.
yeah, the whole
So
thing.
yeah, so they created the AGPL as a response for people who were trying to get around the original GPL license.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't
And
know.
there are many of those people. You'll find a lot of websites that use Comfy as a backend, but they will not tell you that they use Comfy as a backend.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. And I mean,
Excuse me.
it's really hard. It would be tough to prove as
Sorry.
well. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, like some people are just taking workflows and slapping them onto their website and just saying, "Oh, here's our
Yes.
new feature," right? Like I've seen
And
you've
some of them
had
even
your
use my masks.
yeah. Yeah, you've had
What are you gonna do?
definitely experiences with that.
But that's what you do. That's what happens when you put stuff out into the open source world. People are gonna just wrap it and make money off of it. It's just that's life.
Yeah.
We can try to protect it. We can try to do what we want, but at the end of the day, unless you're very litigious, what are you gonna do, right? You can't just walk around suing everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be difficult.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I think the idea of like the open source ecosystem right now as it is with Comfy, it's like it's still it's still pretty small and it's growing. And so I think the incentive should be for larger companies to want to invest in it because if they're taking workflows and they're taking code that people are making in this open source and productizing it and making money from it, and you're not giving anything back to the open source community,
Hmm.
it's like, what is your long-term vision, right? Like
Yeah. No,
it's not going to
exactly.
survive long. If all these people that you're taking from are not able to work in open source anymore because there's no money going there, then like you're not gonna survive as a company either. So
Yeah. You keep drinking out of the well, and all of a sudden, Pharma just asked if Purz is Canadian. Yes, I am Canadian. How could you tell? Oh, was it my crazy thick accent? Oh man.
yeah, from Toronto.
Yeah,
Toronto.
Tron.
Toronto.
Tron.
One syllable, right?
Yeah, just one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's Redream. It's still up. I if you want to check it out, you can. It's running on one GPU.
Oh
So
yeah.
if too many people try to use it
So
at the
only
same
one of
time,
you can play with it at once.
yeah, basically. If one of you tries to generate an animation, it's gonna monopolize the GPU for a little bit and might put you in a queue. So I don't know. I've never had more than like 3 or 4 people generating at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's not an invitation. Please don't destroy my site.
Yeah, right. Just go get hugged to death.
Um anyway, so back to custom nodes. So let's see. So I'm trying to think, like early on when I was learning ComfyUI, not only did I watch your videos, Purz, but I also was watching some of Tyler's videos, like Jay Boog's
Hmm.
videos, and also was looking at the workflows that he was putting out because he was putting up workflows in Banadoko.
Yeah.
So Banadoko is a whole nother, whole nother thing. I actually joined Banadoko later last year, so 2023, and I was just sort of lurking for a long time just to sort of see what the deal is with this new like AnimateDiff stuff. Um, and I could see like the progress being made and like the workflows that people were putting out were just
Yeah.
doing insane, crazy, amazing things with AnimateDiff. Um, and I think that's what inspired me, like going through those early resources, going like, wow, these are really advanced. Like I didn't know you could do this. Um, Made me really want to sit down and learn how those workflows were put together.
Right.
So yeah, I think the most like a lot of the knowledge that I have was from just taking some of those workflows that Tyler put out and just deconstructing them, like going through step by step and saying,
Yeah.
what is this node doing? What is this node doing? Tracing all the way through the whole thing. Um, and I think it's a really good way to, if you're trying to learn Comfy, like that's a really good way to do it, is just take some workflows that somebody's made and just deconstruct it and try to really learn like what is each piece doing individually.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I think that's really where I started to
Oh,
to get a lot
also
of
a side note to that, because of security concerns in Comfy now, only do that with workflows from people you trust, people who've been in the community for a while. Don't download random workflows from random people you've never heard of and drop them in and install all their weird random custom nodes, because there can be malware in the custom nodes. It's just Python at the end of the day. So yeah, I would just say as a side note there for the new users, like try and download workflows from people who've been around for a while, just so you don't get malwared. That's all.
yeah,
It's not common or anything. It's just it's possible. That's all. Just keep yourself safe.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that is an area that they're working on.
Yeah. Dr. Lieutenant Data. I believe he does the manager stuff. He's big on that. He runs a security check every time you start up Comfy, and anything they've already caught will get caught. But new stuff, you could be the first one.
Yeah, right. I think it's a tough problem, right? It's a tough problem to solve, because if you
want to leave it
one of the
open for
great
everybody.
things, yeah, I mean that's one of the great things about Comfy is like anybody can just contribute to it and extend the interface and extend the functionality, but that comes at the cost of, well, if anybody can do that, then you can get all kinds of fun code
Yeah.
over these custom node packs. So yeah, I think right now a lot of it's built on trust.
Yeah,
and
that's another thing. Just use node packs that have that green check mark. People that have been GitHub for more than 6 months. That's also not a like a go sign. It's 100% safe. It just means that user would be risking a bit if they decided to be hacky. But the other thing that can happen is repos can get hacked, and malicious code can be injected. So it might not even be the author's fault, right?
Right. And ironically, I don't even know if I have a green check mark.
It's only if you've been on GitHub for more than 6 months. So I think
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see.
You should be good.
May 19th.
Let's check. I'll check. Let's go to manager, custom nodes, Akatz. You are green, my friend.
Hey, let's go.
You are green.
That's the first time actually I've seen it green, because I had another GitHub account for like my personal account, but I
Hmm.
created one when I started creating custom nodes for
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Akatz, like the brand, right? So yeah, so I created it, but of course, yeah, I didn't have the check mark, and so I was putting out some nodes, and I was just hoping like people wouldn't think I'm some sketchy node author trying to inject malicious code or anything like that.
And it's always like that when you start, right? It's like you got to build the trust somehow.
Right, yeah, totally.
But let's run
Yeah,
down the
so
list, man. You've made your own custom nodes pack. You've wrapped what? Depthflow, Depth Crafter, and Xportrait 2 and 1?
not two. I
Oh, just the
is
first
two
one?
out.
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
think
think
two
I
is out
saw,
yet.
maybe it's not out. I saw a thing for it. I'm not sure if it
Yeah,
was
no, I'm hyped for two. I think that one, it looks amazing. But yeah, I
that's
pretty
amazing.
much thank you. Yeah, so I started with just simple. I think like the first custom nodes. Well, here, let's go to the showcase. So
Hmm.
I tried to put together a little workflow here.
Oh, sick.
Um, it doesn't cover all of the nodes, I don't think, but just like some of the main ones I put in my custom node pack. So I think the first custom node I made was this convert audio to salt audio, or convert salt audio to audio.
Okay.
Uh, I was working with Syncratic, and we were working on his Audioreactive dancers workflow.
Right.
And one of the problems was that we were using this salt audio node pack, which was one of the first that was allowed you to do audio reactivity. So you could grab audio from a video and then pass it through these different modulators and whatnot in order to um, you know get those sort of audio reactive effects in Comfy. But there was multiple different audio reactive packs at the time, and so if you try and convert it from like the audio format that Salt was using was slightly different than the base audio format that VHS I think outputs.
Yeah.
So I had to create like a conversion bridge or something, um and it was funny because I literally just threw the code for the Salt custom node and the one for the VHS output into ChatGPT and was like, "Hey, can you
Hell
make a node
yeah.
can you make a node that bridges between the audio types?" And it totally did. It totally did. It was amazing. Like,
That's so
it even
good.
kept the custom node format and everything. And I use ChatGPT like a lot, like as much as possible, just because it abstracts away a lot of the tedious
Yes.
parts of making custom nodes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And
yeah, I
plus that
mean,
whole like, I want to do the thing. I'm not sure how to do the thing. I don't want to spend 3 days researching how to do the thing. I'm just gonna ask Claude or GPT or whoever.
yeah, it's absolutely the yeah, one of the best resources that you can make use of. So I use it every day. Like things would be very different if ChatGPT wasn't around. Of course. So yeah, so I put together some custom nodes initially for that Audioreactive workflow, and sort of was trying to create audio reactivity. I think audio reactivity was sort of the focus.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like other nodes, like I said, like the salt pack, but unfortunately, it was sort of abandoned, I think, and like it hasn't had updates in months and
Yeah,
months.
I think Salt might have pivoted a little bit. I haven't seen much development out of their camp for a while. Yeah, they were doing a lot
Yeah,
of crazy stuff for a while there.
they were. Yeah, I mean, I was using it in some of my early workflows for sure.
Hmm.
But as the versions of Comfy started increasing, then things started breaking. And I ended up actually taking some of the functionality from the Salt node pack and just integrating it into my node pack in order to make parts of the workflow just function.
Mm.
Um, so I've almost sort of taken at least the parts that I need
All
from
the stuff you
Salt.
needed is now here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I just put it in
Beautiful.
my node pack and then I don't have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's another funny thing about custom node packs is just I think there's a lot of overlap in functionality out there. Because somebody has an idea of how to do something in a particular way, and so they'll create a custom node to do it. And you might not just know that there's another custom node pack
Yeah.
out there that does the exact same thing.
Yeah, because it could be
So
in a pack, but it's not in the name of the pack, so you don't. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Happens a
it's
lot.
sort of unfortunate. It's like there's just you need to like the discovery is difficult. Like discovering all the custom nodes that exist is pretty difficult, like impractical for most people.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, oh, if there's something I need and I can't immediately find it, I'm just gonna write it up, just make it work.
And it's actually that's becoming quite common with a lot of the people I talk to. You know, once you've wrapped a concept in a node, it gets easier and easier to, start building your own pack, configure it. And then just going from idea to node is actually really fast. So a lot of people are just banging out their own nodes just because it's literally faster than going to find who made it in the community and learn how to use theirs and try to adapt their stuff into your workflow. So I think
Right.
that like tinkering thing is really cool with Comfy. We're all just diving into the guts, and it's so much easier now with like GPT and Claude. And when you don't have programming skills, you can just throw code at it and be like, "Why not work?" And then it'll tell you. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It really has changed the game, accelerated development in like unimaginable ways. I'm pretty
Mm,
sure it's like if I didn't have it, like I think I'm at least like 2 or 3 times or maybe more faster than if I didn't
right.
have it. It's
And
just it's
as a
insane.
traditional programmer, you must find it like an accelerator pedal, right? Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Because I know a lot
There's
of
so much.
beginners have trouble because you're just pasting code into a thing and hitting save. But if you actually understand the stack and stuff, you can kind of visualize when things are going to go wrong, or you can look at the code and be like, "Nah, it's not going to work. That's nonsense."
Yeah, I mean, also just so much time spent Googling, so much time spent searching for like esoteric knowledge on how some
Yeah.
specific piece of code works in order to get the result you want. ChatGPT just makes that so much easier. You literally type in, oh, I have this function, I'm trying to make it do this thing, and then it'll even like spit out an example of like, oh, this is how you can use it to do that. It's huge time saver. So yeah, it's a super accelerator pedal. Like it helps if you've never written code or your own custom nodes, you can actually get into it using just some of these tools. But if you are a developer and you have had some time in the industry and whatnot, like yeah, this will accelerate like 2x, 3x at least your
Yeah.
productivity. Um, so anyway, yeah, so I was getting into these earlier workflows, I guess, going back to how I got to this point. And and I think so I was working on the Audioreactive workflow, and that's today we can see that this is I'll bring it up right now. It's grown a little bit more complicated.
Oh my god.
It's what I started. It's gotten a little
Let's
bit
freak
bigger.
out the noobs. This is a totally normal ComfyUI workflow.
Yeah, this is normal. Yeah, if your workflow doesn't look this big and have as many nodes, then
Yeah, you're not doing it right.
you're not doing it right. So no, yeah, this is a product of lots and lots of time, lots of tinkering, figuring out what nodes do. But I mean, most of this workflow is actually just it's a reusable piece. So what I've done is
Yeah,
I sort of created something called like the base workflow, and I have an example of that somewhere. But let's see. Yeah, so here's the base workflow.
right.
So this base workflow is sort of what I use to build some of my other workflows on top of. And it just basically wraps around a lot of common functionality that a lot of workflows need to have. And so, for example, like a lot of video to video, because this is specifically, for video to video style workflows.
Yeah.
In most cases, you're going to need a video input. You're going to have to set, width, height,
Variables, yeah. Process the
variables,
video into
speed.
certain things. Make sure it's the
Yeah, and
right
like a lot of
size. Make sure it's the right frame rate.
scaling, getting the FPS, like all of that stuff. You just need to have it in in all these workflows. Another one that this is somewhat more recent, but in a lot of cases you would need a mask for your subject. And so before, if you knew how to rotoscope in Photoshop or whatnot, you could create some of these masks, right? But
But it's
very
painstaking.
tedious.
Yeah.
It's nobody wants to sit there and rotoscope for hours.
Boog
I know
does. Boog
I
loves
know
it.
Tyler loves rotoscoping, so
Yeah.
that's I
But
mean
he's a
that's
special kind of masochist.
yeah, that's great. If you're into rotoscoping, good for you.
I
Massive
mean,
respect.
the newest version of After Effects is pretty good. Like, but you still have to sit there and do it. Yeah, yeah. Like, I'm a proponent of like BiRefNet and Sam2 and all the fun toys that we have to make this
Yeah, so
easier.
I'm
But
too
yeah,
lazy. I'm too lazy
yeah.
to do
Plus
rotoscoping
now
by
with
hand.
like, I guess, what are you using there, Sam2 or
Yeah, Sam too.
yeah, because you
Sam
could just
too.
say like person and drum, right, and like get the two
Yeah,
masks,
so
which is great.
exactly. So this is a combination actually. So we're using Florence and Sam 2 together.
Hmm.
And basically what this Florence node will do is you give labels, or you input like a list of labels like this. So I have torso, arm, head, leg, feet,
Right.
and it's going to draw bounding boxes around those particular parts that it can find in your video.
Yeah.
And and then what we do is when we input that into this Florence coordinates node, it will take the center coordinate of that box and use that as a point. And then SAM2 actually expects points as the inputs for labeling, like what are you trying to segment. So this combination is actually pretty nice because yeah, you can specify what you want to have separated. In this case, I want the subject, or like this girl and her. In this case, I didn't grab the drum, but I'll show later. I have a video utils workflow where you can actually grab multiple masks
Nice. Yeah.
from SAM2. So that really helps if you're trying to do things like targeted IP adapters for different parts of the video.
Yeah, because
But yeah,
like that mask thing you can go ham with. Like Comfy doesn't care how many masks you use, only your VRAM does.
right. I know, and it's so amazing. Like it's really powerful, but unfortunately, you can only stack so many IP adapters
Yeah, for the run either
before.
takes too long or you just completely.
Right. Yeah. So so anyway, yeah.
Metanome just asked if this workflow is available anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. All my workflows are available on my Patreon page, and this
I'll
this
drop the
one's
link in the chat.
yeah. If you can drop the link, this one is free. So if you just join for free, you can go ahead and download it. This is the base workflow. So the base workflow, like I said, it's mostly just a video to video workflow. But some of my other workflows build on top of this. So yeah, I use this as sort of like the starting point, like a template, and then I sort of will start to add more interesting effects to the outputs of this workflow. But just to sort of give you an idea of what is going on here. So like I said, we need to have some elements that are pretty consistent among the different workflows that are, or at least like video to video workflows. So for example, yeah, input video, grabbing the mask. We got like the prompt here, obviously. So you want to, if you have
Prompt,
like a schedule, you
yeah,
can
prompt
actually,
schedule, right? Yeah, nice.
yeah. So doing prompt schedule. So over the course of your video, you can specify which frame has what prompt.
That's a very powerful tool that a lot of people completely ignore. For like having your video change over time and making things happen. Like prompt travel's legit.
Yeah, it's amazingly powerful, and I still haven't even really made use of it too much. I think it's good to include as part of this
Yeah,
template
because
because
it's just ready to use when you want it. But
it's ready to
you can
go.
absolutely just make one prompt like you're doing there and go.
Yeah, exactly. So in my case, for some of the stuff that I was doing, one prompt is good, but if you do want to have that changing ability over time,
Mm-hmm.
it's really useful for that. So yeah, so this is where your prompt is. These are some utility functions. Mostly I just put this here because I don't know where else to put them in the workflow. And
It's like
it's not really
separating masks and stuff and like putting them in the right place and stuff like that.
right. Yeah, it's like in a program, like if I was writing it in Python or something, I'd have
It
this
would
be in
just
a
be a
separate
little
file.
utils.py or whatever.
Yeah, 100%, and it would
Yeah.
import whatever functions. But in this case, it's like this is just some stuff that it's like resizing the video, creating a black background mask,
Yeah.
adjusting the FPS, setting the subject mask based on which one is actually valid, loading models, setting the latent, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then over here we have our segmentation. So basically, what we're doing is we're grabbing masks, and I think one thing that scares a lot of beginners that I should mention is the setter and getter nodes.
Oh
And I
yeah.
make extreme use of setter and getter nodes in my workflows.
Otherwise this would
Uh,
be Noodle City.
yeah, if you can imagine how many noodles I would need to make something like this work.
Yeah, just for the beginners,
everywhere.
get and set nodes essentially allow you to define variables, and then you can call those variables from other places. So they're almost like node or noodle portals. Like you can say, I want to set the resolution for the entire thing into a variable called width, or width and height, and then you can just grab width and grab height when you need it. So like
Exactly.
it's definitely a design philosophy if you don't like a million cables everywhere. Like if you find that overwhelming and you want to have a nice clean workflow like this, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a little example here, but I have a lot of variables, which
Yeah.
also can be
Yeah, it gets
difficult.
confusing in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. So let me see if this works here really quickly. But yeah, the point is oh, there you go. See, okay. So what happened is, I have this input here, which is an integer, and I'm just I'd set the 5, and I output it into a setter node, and I called that setter node test.
Yeah.
And then somewhere else, it can be arbitrarily far away in the workflow. I'll have another workflow called get test, and you can just basically click on this. You'll get a drop down of all the variables. They're global to the workflow. There's no they're not scoped or anything. So
Yeah.
so I'll just grab the same variable, and then it will output the same type that you input. So in this case, the output type is integer. So when I set the node, it's set to the same type. And then when I get that node, it will get the same type as output. So yeah, exactly. It's basically just a way. And if you want to see the cable, you can actually go to or maybe if my if my comfy isn't broken. But oh, that's weird. It's not letting me see the connection. Well,
Oh, the show
usually,
connections is working. Yeah, I see the setting.
yeah, usually what you should be able to do is click. Oh, there we go. Now it works.
Oh, so
Um,
it shows you the ghost connection.
yeah, so this is useful because sometimes you just have no idea where you're getting your data from, and you want to see like, oh, where am I getting this mask? And then you could, go down to your show
Oh
connections and
yeah,
say, oh,
nice.
look, here it is. It's going from this set node to this get node.
Yeah, that's good for
So
exploring somebody's workflow too, who's been using the get set nodes. Because like when you do it, you have an idea of what you did, but when you're looking at someone else's, it can be super confusing.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
everybody organizes differently.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think that for high level workflow creators, it's essential. Like you
Especially
really
something
need
like
it.
this where it's really like big and sophisticated. It'd be
Yeah,
noodle
it's
soup otherwise.
it would be very difficult, and I really like to try and color coordinate
Hmm.
workflows as much as possible. So
Yeah, and you can
uh,
just look at stuff at a glance and know what it does. Yeah, I'm the
yeah, and
same
also,
way.
because sometimes when you're zoomed in really closely, you'll see a lot of the text disappears on nodes.
Hmm.
So it's sort of hard to tell what any particular node is and what it's doing.
Yeah,
So that's why I like to put these large titles over the different sections so that you can zoom really far out and still be like, oh, this is the sampler, this is
yeah,
audio, this is mask, and whatnot. If you don't know how to do this, it's pretty easy. You can just go to add group, call it whatever you want, and then if you right click on it and go down to edit group, you can change the font size to 100, and there you go. You can do this the same process. You can go edit group and then also change the color. So very useful if you're trying to get organized.
Yeah, big text labels, always good.
All right. So anyway, yeah. So this is the base workflow. So yeah, we talked about masks here. So we're basically just grabbing the masks from the input. So if it's a green mask, it's going to put it into this variable and the setter node here. If it's red, it's going to be put into this one. And and then I use those later in the workflow. For example, if I'm trying to use a specific IP adapter and target one of those masks, then I can just say, get the red mask or get the green mask or the blue mask, and then that'll be what we're targeting with that particular IP adapter. So yeah, it's very useful. We got our model section, and in this case, I have a model merge stack.
Yeah.
So you can actually blend some of the weights together of these models.
Mix the actual checkpoints together, because like a lot of people mix LoRa's, but you can actually mix checkpoints too. If you're nasty.
If you're crazy, yeah. I'm a little crazy, so I like to just go all out with some of these nodes. But
plus, that's another way to make sure your stuff looks like your stuff.
Yeah.
The more you customize these models, the less chance someone else is going to stumble upon the exact same settings you had, right?
Yeah, totally. I think, and it's also just, I try to bake as much flexibility into the workflows as possible, because like I said, like the point of this one is it's a base, it's a template that I'm going to build on top of with additional effects, and I don't necessarily know what I'm going to need in the some of the workflows that I'm going to build in the future. But having as much flexibility in the template is really, really important.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like one of the philosophies I have for that. But yeah, you can mix checkpoints. So here I'm doing absolute reality LCM, and
I haven't played with that one yet. I haven't played with either of those actually.
Oh, so paradigm is Phil's model.
Oh, nice.
Actually. Machine Delusions. If
no, not a friend of the stream. We haven't had him on multiple times or anything. I didn't just spend a week with him in Japan or anything.
Yeah. So Phil, that's
Phil, and his custom nodes show up in everybody's streams. It's great.
Yeah, he's got an awesome collection of nodes. I was using his code node for a while actually.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah, that's how I did my first custom node development. I was just throwing code into Comfy in one of the text inputs and just running it and being like, oh, this works.
It's so handy, right? Like you don't have to restart Comfy every time you make a change. Oh boy.
Yeah, that made a huge difference. But now I use the hot reload hack.
Yes, yeah, that one's really cool.
Node. And that way I can use my editor, because programming in your editor, like
another thing, just for the noobs, just so you know, if you're working on custom nodes, if you don't use any of these tools, you have to restart Comfy every single time you make a change to get it going. So Phil and this hot reload thing are workarounds where you can keep working on your code, and then when you can just hit the button and then it'll refresh the code base and you can keep going, which saves you like literally hours, because restarting Comfy doesn't take forever, but it is just boop and wait. It's a time sink.
Yeah.
Especially when you're making a ton of iterative changes to find the right settings. Yeah.
Yeah, you will hate your life if you have to keep restarting Comfy every time you make a little change. Because part of the process is you make a change, you run it, you see it breaks, you try something else, you run it, you see what breaks, so on and so forth. It's the same with Comfy workflows. It's the same with custom node development. It's pretty much the same process. So the faster you can make that feedback loop, the more fun you're gonna have, and like the easier it's gonna be. So, hot reload hack if you're trying to make custom nodes is a must.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on. So yeah, then we got our AnimateDiff section here. So I got Liquid AF is a great motion LoRa, and I pretty much use it for the most part in most of my generations, because it just adds this really nice fluidity to the background that I like, but configurable, of course. But most of these settings are pretty standard, I'd say, like across a lot of video to video and AnimateDiff related workflows. And then we come into our IPAdapter section. So this is where I've basically set up an array of different IPAdapters that are targeting specific colors. And of course, it's color coordinated. So if you have an input video like this one, where you have a red subject mask and a green subject mask, and let's say I want the subject to be this image as the reference, and then I want the drum to have this cool swirly paint pattern, then you can do that. You can target
Yeah, real Comfy users don't prompt anymore. We just throw images at things.
Yeah, like prompting is great. It's fantastic. And you need to know how to prompt, but being able to throw in a reference image to target different parts of your generation is insanely powerful.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
and plus Florence too.
required.
Like you don't even have to text prompts. You can throw something through Florence and have it describe it, and So yeah, if you hate prompting like me, you don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to build up sort of a library of reference images, and then whatever you want to use for your generations, you can scroll through that and then just pick and choose. And sometimes some reference images work better than others, and it's a lot of trial and error, of course. I really like the swirly paint sort of style, like the liquid ones, because those work.
ADiff loves
Those
liquid.
pair.
Yeah, ADiff
Yeah,
loves liquid.
like anything water sort of.
Just get a
native.
fluid simulation for free, like way faster
Yeah,
than you would in a 3D engine.
totally. It's so that's what I found. One of the things that I found is really good at. Um, yeah, and of course over here I've got some even more craziness. So in this particular IPAdapter, I started trying to make use of my IPAdapter custom weights custom node. So this custom node, I mean, it gives you a lot of power to do some pretty insane things. And mostly what it was for, the reason why I created it was because I think so Mateo put together this IPAdapter weights custom node.
Yeah.
So it lets you transition between reference images. So if I have, like this reference image and this one and this one and this one, over the length of your animation, it will sort of blend from this reference to this reference to this reference over the whole course of let's say I have like 100 frames, then it would sort of like equally space the weights of each of these over that 100 frames. And so that's I was playing with that and it was fantastic. But what I wanted was a way to actually specify when in the video we do these transitions. Right. So it's like if you're editing a video and at some point you're like, oh, I want to cut the video here and then transition to the next scene or frame or whatever.
Yeah, you basically need keyframes.
You need to have keyframes. And so that was absent. I couldn't find anything for that at the time. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just try and make it, myself. And I think this was the first real big custom node that I put out. I think I even put out like a announcement in Banadoko when I made this one because it took me a little while to actually put together.
Nice.
But yeah, the idea, and I actually have, if we go to my, let's see, we go to my custom node showcase here. So I put together like a little demo.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's hard to visualize this, especially if you don't even know what a weight IPAdapter weights are.
Yeah, exactly. And so to try and visualize what is going on here, yeah, so basically you can put together your batch of reference images. So normally with an IPAdapter, you would have your one reference image, and then that would apply to the entire animation. But in this case, I have four. So I color coordinated it with the different numbers here, so it's really obvious what goes where. But the point is, after you batch these images together and you feed it into the custom weights node, this string format in here gives you the ability to specify the keyframes and how many frames you're actually transitioning
Okay.
across.
Nice.
So yeah, so basically what you see here is there's two weights, and this is where it sort of gets confusing, but the weights are going to determine the strength of the IP adapter. So when the weight is 1, the IP adapter is at full strength, and you're going to see that reference image in the output for the most part.
Yeah.
And if the weight is 0, you're not going to see it. It's going to be turned off, and whatever the model wants to put there, it's up to it. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to use 2 IP adapters, and we have weight of 1 to start on the first image, and then we have a weight of 0 on the second image. And over the course of the entire animation, we're going to decrease the strength of the first IP adapter reference image and increase the strength on the second one. So
Yeah,
what's
kind of
going to
like a
happen is
crossfade.
it's going to crossfade. And I'm sure, like the Mateo has a fantastic video explaining
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that video's awesome. Actually, I'll link it.
Yeah, if you have the link to that one,
Yeah, I'll grab it.
I
That's
watched
the
that
best
several
explanation.
times.
Yeah, exactly. Latent vision.
But yeah, and I actually, so here, maybe to make it even easier to see, I put together, so I have a custom node guide page that I try to put the links to in all of my workflows. And so it sort of just lays out all the different custom nodes that I have in my custom node pack. For the most part, I think I still have a few that I need to fill in. But I tried to put together some guides for all of them, so you can see. In this particular one, I even have like a video for. So a lot of information about documentation, specifically how that custom node works. But here's like a nice little graphic, I think, that sort of
Oh,
demonstrates
yeah, nice.
the effect. So so we have 2 weights, 2 sets of weights for each IP adapter. So the goal is, on the first IP adapter, we're going to be transitioning from full strength to 0, and then on the second IP adapter, with our other image, we're going to be going from no strength to full strength.
Yeah.
And so in this case, it's like, okay, so I'm specifying in this little string format here. I want to transition to a weight of 0.0. So that's saying, like, since we're starting at 1, we want to transition to 0. And then at frame 1. So right here. So frame indexes are indexed by 0. So,
Yeah, they
0, 1,
usually
2,
start at
3.
0 and
Yeah, it's a common sort of computer science thing to start arrays or lists at 0. But
it's just to
anyway,
confuse humans, yeah.
just to be confusing, right? Yeah. There's a good reason for it. Somebody figured out a good reason for it, I think, but I don't know. It's confusing. Anyway, so we're saying at frame index 1, we're going to start transitioning from 1 to 0. So that's where we say here. And then in the string format, I'm saying starting at frame index 1 for 10 frames, we're going to transition. And specifically, we're going to transition using a linear interpolation. So that just means, if you know what like linear interpolation means, it's just it's a linear function. So it's going to try
0 to 1 in one. No, no curve to the no curve
each
to
step.
the yeah.
Exactly. And I think I even have like some
Oh,
graphs
nice.
here.
Yeah, that's good. People could
So you can
understand.
see a linear function just from, as you're increasing.
Yeah, if you've ever done animation, you'll know what we're talking about here. But the idea is you can adjust how it gets from 0 to 1, right? Like on that curve. Yeah.
Exactly. And and here's some examples of the different functions you could use instead of linear, and how they affect sort of transitioning between like a starting image and like an ending image. So yeah, definitely if you're interested in how that affects the result, take a look at this little guide. But anyway, going back, basically, yeah. So that's how it works. Is we just transition over those frames, and then on the other IP adapter, we're just doing the exact inverse of that. We're going from strength of 0, and then we're walking up until it's full strength. And so the result you can see at the bottom here is this. It's we're starting at full strength on the first image, and then it slowly fades out until it's not visible and then your second image slowly sort of fades in slowly until it's full strength. And so, with longer animations, this is gonna space out. You're gonna have more frames in between here to do the transition over,
Yeah.
and you can specify that in the string format.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you can set your intervals or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, it's like in your editor, if you're editing a video, it's like, oh, I can make my transition between scenes longer or shorter. And if it's short, you're gonna get more like choppy edits, like choppy cuts. Or if it's longer, you might have more of like a smoother, sort of drawn out transition.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the things with AnimateDiff is we have the power of the context window, but it's also a bit of a jail because like it takes about 16 frames for something to happen on pretty much everything but conditioning, I think. For some reason, ControlNet's like pretty much, frame by frame, but IPAdapter, things like that, they're a little slower than the other methods. So yeah, and we could talk about later, but that can affect audio reactivity where it doesn't feel like it's like hitting.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, it's yeah, there's a lot there's a lot that goes on in the background too, with context, but
Yeah,
um,
but that's also what makes it so damn smooth. So, good and bad.
yeah, totally. So anyway, so that's sort of trying to get a high level view of what this node does, and it's extremely powerful. Like you can do some crazy things with it, but it's takes a while to learn. Like you'll have to play with it. And so yeah, so if eventually I'll try and put together this showcase workflow that just makes use of all of my different custom nodes, and so you can sort of experiment and sort of like a playground and um, test out different settings on the nodes and see how it affects the results.
So that's
And
super handy. Yeah, that's super handy. Because like even I had trouble understanding exactly what the weighting was doing for a long time until I visualized it with masks like that, and then I was like, oh, it's literally just a black and white, like 0 to 1, like yeah. Well, it's the other thing
right,
is like all this stuff, even with masks or numbers, we're generally just going from 0 to 1 in some capacity. Um, and like that, even a black to white mask, that's what that is. If your mask is red, your mask is yellow. It doesn't matter. Comfy just sees it as a mask. It's 1 where it's mask and 0 where it's nothing. So,
yeah,
it's all
exactly.
math, baby.
It's all math. It all comes down to math.
All math, all the way down.
We can't get away from it as much as I try. It's always, yeah. At some point you have to sit down and I've got a nice whiteboard next to me, so sometimes when I'm trying to figure out like, oh, well, how is this transition actually going to look,
Yep.
you start writing down the numbers and that helps a lot. So
Yeah.
I guess so. One of the first things that I was doing was I was actually taking some of my animations and putting them into Touch Designer.
Nice.
So that's how I got started with audio reactivity. Let me see if I can find some of my early videos. AI videos. But yeah, maybe I should mute the video.
I think I muted your stream, so it should be okay.
Okay, cool. So anyway, so this was one of the first sort of style of generations that I was making. And so I actually watched, I think somebody had, was it you who had Spencer on the
No, it
stream?
was Tyler on Civet. They did a
Tyler,
whole
yeah.
audio reactivity thing in excuse me, in TD, and Spence gave out his tox file or tow file or whatever you call it, the Touch Designer project, so you could play with his speed ramp audio visualizer thing.
Yeah. So I watched that stream, and that
Spence
was
is
like
a monster, by the way. He's been on. He's a friend of the stream. He's been on, and like, yeah, I just like sitting and watching Spence do his thing. If you guys don't know, it's Sir Spence. I'll put his name in there. Go check him out. He shoots lasers and stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Spencer's like his work is insane. It's amazing. It's inspiring. So I got inspired by that stream, and I downloaded Touch Designer. There's a free version, so you can play with it, and I used his talks file, I think, and just started creating little loops. So basically, I would create a loop in AnimateDiff, just a basic, like text to image loop, um, and then I would throw it into Touch Designer, like once I had a finished product, and it would basically just it modulates the speed of the video, and then it also does these little like flashing effects on I think so on the downbeat it will speed up the video,
Yeah.
and then on a snare hit
You get a little
then it will
flicker.
do the flash. So it's kind of a neat effect. So these are some of the first videos that I was experimenting with, just
Mhm.
generating some cool effect and then just running it through Touch Designer. And then of course, I added some extra little effects in CapCut.
Yeah.
But that was the idea. I think this is like my first foray into sort of like audio reactivity. Um, and so that inspired a lot of like the reason why I was doing um, working with Syncratic on his Audioreactive his workflows, because I was trying to see if I could take the all of the functionality of Touch Designer and bring it into ComfyUI, at least the specific nodes that I was using. Because the one problem with the free version of Touch Designer is it doesn't let you output in high resolution,
Yep.
I believe. So I wanted to be able to upscale it like in real time in ComfyUI or immediately after. Um, so yeah, so that was like one of the inspirations for a lot of the audio reactive stuff. And then later on, um, I started experimenting with dilation masks.
Yeah.
So I think it was after watching your your stream with the Civet AI logo, I found this node that lets you dilate a mask. And what dilation does is, here's a good example of what you can do
Yeah,
with
you
that.
guys have probably seen these videos around the mask dilation videos. A lot of people are doing it now too. I see it on Instagram a lot now.
Yeah, it's it's kind of funny. It's like
It's
every
popping
time I see it
off.
too, every time I see it, I'm like, hey, my dilation mask
Yeah.
node is making its way around. Um, but yeah, it just for me, what I was thinking is like I had this idea. I was like, oh, I want to see if I can add sort of like a halo effect around the dancer, and I
Hmm.
didn't know exactly how to do that. And I was thinking, oh, I could use like line art or something, and then do some crazy math to like push the lines around or something, and then I found, I think Pajai had a dilate mask node,
Yeah.
and what it does is it basically just expands the area of a mask. So whatever is, if you have like a white mask on a black background, it'll just sort of like expand the area of that. And so what I did after I saw that was to try and make a set of nodes that make use of that sort of effect. And so one of the first ones that I created was this thing called dilate mask linear. And what this does is basically, um, so the problem with Kajai's node is it didn't work with image batches. It was just for, or it did work with image batches, but it was static. So it would dilate the mask to a certain size and then it would stay there. But I was thinking of how cool it would be if the mask sort of could expand or contract um, over the course of the video.
Yeah.
So an example of that is like, okay, so here we have a mask input video of a dancer, and so we take that video, we feed it through the dilate mask linear node, and then the output is you
Blue.
can see the mask is sort of growing and expanding,
Yeah.
and there's two settings for this. There's circle and square, and so circle will give you like a really nice circular effect, but it takes a little bit longer to actually generate
Oh.
than square.
Yeah,
Because
probably because
square
it's
is
got to
like,
calculate all the curves and edges.
yeah, it uses like a circular kernel, which is more complicated to compute. But yeah, so if you do use circle, you can see it's much smoother, much
Yeah,
nicer.
tighter mask. Yeah.
So so yeah, so I created this node, and this was right around the time that the Project Odyssey competition was announced. And so at the beginning, I was sort of playing around with my workflows, playing around with my nodes, and I actually didn't have any intention to enter the competition, at least not initially, because I just thought I was a noob, like completely. I was like, I don't know if my stuff is good enough. Like these people who've been in the space for a while are gonna, tear it
Good
up.
old imposter syndrome.
Yep, the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so it was
We
literally
hate
like,
all my homies hate imposter syndrome.
yeah, it sneaks up on you. I don't know, but
Yeah.
the point was like it was Friday. I think it was the Friday before the deadline. The deadline was I think Sunday or Monday of the following week. And I said, you know what? Like, who cares if I just enter the competition, then there's a chance that at least like some people in the community will see like what I generate.
Mhm.
And it might not be amazing, but at least that's like some more eyes on content. And specifically what I really wanted was Civet AI created this like Project Odyssey badge,
Yeah.
and you get that if you just make an entry. And
Yeah,
so I
just
said I need to have
participate.
that.
Participation badge.
I need to get my participation badge.
Yeah.
um
I rock mine proudly too.
Yeah, no, I love it. So so I was thinking, for a while, like what could I possibly create? And I saw a list of some of the early entries, like from earlier in the month, I think, for I think it was for the 3D animation category. Because there's different categories. The 3D animation one was like the robot that was like falling.
Is
That I
that
think
Remy?
E made.
Oh, E, yeah.
Well, I think E made that, right?
Yeah, probably. He makes all the best stuff.
Yeah.
Enigmatic
So
E, also a guest of the stream at one point. He's awesome.
yeah, shout out Enigmatic E. He's
Yeah,
amazing. I like what
killing it.
he does as well.
Yeah.
So I saw some like different styles. I saw some people made like anime recreations, like some movie characters, and I was thinking it would be really cool if I made a movie character themed one. So I
Yeah.
was thinking of like Marvel heroes, of course. And I found a really awesome Laura for Doctor Strange, and I was like, that's perfect, because what if I combine that with the dilation mask effect to make it look like Doctor Strange is traveling through different
Yeah, like
dimensions.
phasing. Yeah.
So I don't know, it was just like all these ideas just came together literally within a couple hours on a Friday night, and I was like, all right, let's try it. And after, I don't know, like some amount of attempts of rendering, I eventually
So
got
good. Yeah, I
this
love this one.
output, and it turned out pretty good. Like it turned out better than I expected, honestly.
Yeah, I love the way the flowers come out. You can totally see that. Like when she hits him and he like phases out of his body in the movie. It's
Right,
totally, yeah.
right. Because I was thinking about that. I'm like, what are all the, like, the dimensions that he's going through? Because there's a lot of them, and so I was just trying to pick and choose different reference images for the IP adapter. And so the way that I did this, like, because you notice it's different backgrounds for each like expansion.
Yeah.
Basically, what I did is I stacked multiple dilate mask linear nodes like this. And what I added to this node is a delay. So you see, like, this is a frame delay. So if I set this to 100, it's not going to actually start dilating the mask until 100 frames have passed.
Oh,
And
so
then
you
it'll,
can stagger them.
yeah, so you can stagger them. So, you could have one start immediately, and then the next one you can composite on top, and it'll expand, and you can, change the colors. So, of course, I had a video where I had a mask, like, different colored masks expanding,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can have IPAdapter fill in the background. So there was a lot of sort of techniques that came together at the last second. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this result, and I actually got third place in the 3D animation
Let's
category. So
go.
I was
Congratulations.
really, thank you. I was really surprised, actually. I was like, wow, thank you guys so much. This is awesome. So I think it was that point where I sort of knew that this was a promising, path for me to take, because up until that point, I think I hadn't really um, interacted with too many people in the community, and I was sort of just like trying to learn, trying to focus on my own thing. But this is
Yeah.
the first time where I felt like, okay, yeah, this is a place where maybe I could actually, help out and really try and get involved. And there's a lot of cool people in the space that I've met thus far, um,
And
and
everybody's so
yeah.
nice, it's like I haven't met a single jerk.
No, I know it's awesome. It's like everybody
Yeah.
here just wants to learn and wants to like help each
Share.
other out,
Yeah.
share knowledge. And I and I noticed that too because we went to the Banadoko hosted a party, like an event,
Yeah, at the
um,
brewery there in LA.
in LA, and so I drove out there and not too far, just like a 2 hour drive north for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I met you, and I met Tyler, and like even Nico was there. That was the
I know.
craziest part
Nico from
because
Corridor
Nico
Crew is just
Nico
chilling at
from
the bar.
Corridor Crew showed up. He was there, and
Yeah.
I was like, I was able to talk to him for a little bit, but I'm like, hey man, you're kind of the reason why I'm here right now. Like it was just this
Yeah,
crazy
that
moment.
video they did was so cool. The when the being one of the first early adopters, being VFX guys and being not scared to try it, I think opened the door for a lot of VFX people who might have been afraid to try it, thinking that it was going to take their job away. And I think Corridor Crew did a great job of being like, listen, if you already have skills, this is not something to be afraid of. This is something that can, take your art in a new direction that you would have otherwise have possibly been able to do as a 3-person team or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they pushed
And yeah,
the
what they
level
did was insane. Yeah, what they did was wild,
every
especially at the
time. It's like
time. Yeah.
you saw like the rock paper scissors anime
Hmm.
one, insane. That was the first one where I was like, wow, this is actually an amazing tool that is going to completely change the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing some amazing stuff. But anyway, yeah, the community is full of amazing, awesome people. So yeah, only good things to say
Hmm.
so far. And so yeah, so for this workflow, I guess some of the other things is after I created that first node, I was thinking, okay, well, how can we expand on it? Like, how can we improve on it? And so I thought, okay, well, let's make it audio reactive. Of course,
Yeah.
that's the next step. So same
Gotta.
thing. It's gotta
Gotta.
gotta make it audio reactive. That's huge. So that was the next step, was just taking this node and then allowing people to add music, and the uh, like basically the amplitude of the signal of the song controls how expanded the mask will be. So you can see that here. There's like some beats here, and what's driving this particular expansion and contraction, you can see on the graph over here. So this is a fun set of nodes over here. Basically, just to run over it really quick, I'm using Ryan's nodes to isolate the audio
Yeah, I think his
stem.
uses demux, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, under the hood.
Yeah. Or unmix, I think is what I'm using.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think you could change. Okay, yeah, I'm using
Hmm.
unmixed right now.
Nice.
But anyway, so this just lets you separate out the audio, so you can have the drums be on one track, the vocals be on another track. It sort of like helps to just isolate the signal for that particular part of the music. And so in each of these sections, then what I'm doing is basically taking that audio stem, grabbing the amplitude of that signal, converting it into a float list. And so this is another one. This is another one of the nodes that I had to create, because I created my nodes to be a little bit more generic with the input types that they accept. And so one of the most generic types of input in Python is a float list. So
Right.
it's just a list of numbers,
Like
like
comma
0 to 1,
separated or whatever. Yeah.
comma separated. And so Ryan's got his amazing, awesome flex feature system, and but the feature is in a very particular format, and so I created a node to basically convert from a feature to a float list. So that's what this node is here. It's just sort of like a utility function, and now it plays nice with the rest of the nodes that I have. So I have a binary amplitude gate, and this basically just says if the signal is above 0.6, you're going to set it to 1, and if it's below 0.6, set it to 0.
Oh, cool. So you got your nice little threshold there.
Little threshold, really useful just to do some sort of base level filtering.
Yeah.
And then I have this other node that's called shrink num sequence. And so what this does is if it finds a contiguous string of the same number, so in this case the target number is 1, because it's a binary list, so we're gonna have multiple ones in a row.
Okay.
Set it to this number of occurrences. So sometimes you could get like a signal where it's like for 20 frames in a row it's 1, and then it drops back down to
so
0.
instead of going like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Yeah, it'll set, once it finds a sequence of like 1, 1, 1, 1, it will just trim it down to like 2 or 3 or whatever you set as the max occurrences. In this case, I set it to 2. So what you get is this nice little signal here where it's like two frame wide peaks.
Yeah.
Basically.
This is like one of those things that people don't understand about audio reactivity is you need to massage the data that you're getting in to get the result out that looks the way you want it to look like. This is a really clever way of doing that. Otherwise you have to like find other ways to do it, and it can get kind of gross.
Yeah, and I wish it was easier right now, but yeah, a lot of it just comes down to signal processing, signal analysis. Like this is your raw input signal, it's very
it'll just be like if you leave it alone.
Yeah,
because
it's very choppy. The output's not going to look as nice, and so a lot of audio reactivity is just like Purz said, just like processing that signal to make it smoother and nicer and more useful for particular like whatever you're trying to do. But yeah, so in this case, this is what I'm actually just piping in the original audio waveform. So this is what it looks like. There's sort of like four peaks. So you can see the result is there's like sort of 4 expansions that happen throughout this little snippet here. So yeah, so that's the Audioreactive dynamic dilate mask.
Super sick.
It's really fun. I've seen a lot of people using this node, so I wanted to spend a little more time talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is sort of just like it's sort of a variation on that node. The difference is instead of just computing oh no, I broke it.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things where you middle clicked somewhere and made a reroute. I do it all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right.
I do that all the time.
You're right. So what does this node do? It's almost the same as the Audioreactive dynamic dilate mask, and I know that the names of these are kind of funny because they overlap a lot. But this is the Audioreactive dilate mask, not dynamic, just dilate. And the difference is that it looks for a signal above a threshold. So in this case, the threshold is 0.5. And once it sees that signal, it will just expand the mask out to the maximum radius you've set, and then back down to 0, or the minimum radius you've set, within a certain time frame. And that time frame is determined by the attack and the decay. So this is basically in seconds how fast to increase the mask, and then how quickly to decay the mask.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
that helps with uniformity too, right? Like your mask will look more not legit. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's.
So you can see it's sort of like it goes out and in and out and in, like at a much more regular sort of interval, and there's less like choppiness.
Yeah.
So if you just want that like beat effect of like the mask expanding,
blooming out,
then this is a useful node for that. And
Sick.
I created it just to have that sort of like another option, basically.
Oh yeah, it's always good to have options.
Yeah, so that's that one. And then the last 2 nodes here. So one of the problems that I was encountering with the dilate mask linear node was I didn't want to have to keep staggering like 50 nodes in a row if I wanted to have a bunch of different transitions or backgrounds dilating outwards. So I made a workflow, I think, for the Doctor Strange workflow, and that had 3 transitions or 3 dilations. So I ended up seeing some videos of people using that workflow where I could tell it was the same workflow because there was only 3 times in the video where it would expand.
Yeah.
And people were some people were telling me like it would be really cool to have it so I could set as many transitions or as many dilations as I want.
Right.
So so that's where I created these nodes, which are basically very similar to the previous nodes, but allow you to do or generate multiple dilations, and both on audio reactive events. So in this case, like if the audio hits a certain signal, it'll trigger a dilation. And then also you'll see in the next one with a schedule, like a string format. So if we just run this, you'll see what happens to the output. Hopefully. Hopefully I didn't unplug anything again.
Looks like it's doing stuff.
It's cooking.
Let it cook.
That's the fun part is a lot of these nodes, like I said, because of the how we're computing. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so check that out. That's pretty cool.
That's fantastically useful. I might
Yeah,
muted because I was coughing. Yeah, that's super useful. Like there used to be iPod ads that look exactly like this, but they had to do it friggin' manually back in the late 90s or whatever. I guess it was early 2000s, but still, yeah, this is like that's just one of those things. This is a whole new thing you could do in Comfy just because you started hacking on these nodes.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, that's right. It's just like I started following a rabbit hole of of this dilation mask effect that I thought looked cool, and it just opened up this whole like set of corridors that I started exploring of using that same effect in multiple interesting new ways.
Oh, I love it.
And I feel like that's sort of like the whole ComfyUI space right now. I sort of likened it to like a dungeon where people are exploring this dungeon of what's possible, and there's a lot of hidden rooms and corridors that are filled with treasure that we haven't really gone down and
It's so many side quests.
So many side quests. Yeah, there's too many side quests, honestly, for
Yeah.
anybody to fully explore.
Yeah, but that's why we tackle it as a community and share our knowledge base because yeah, nobody can do this by themselves.
Yeah, exactly. People are going down these corridors and like trying to map out, where interesting things are and where less interesting things are, and then they bring it back and share it with the group, and then we're all better off for that. Like we can move in a more coordinated direction to make cooler stuff faster, so then everybody benefits as a collective. And so I think that's what's really cool. Like one of the really cool things about the community. But yeah, anyway, so that's what this node does. Just
it's
to
wicked.
try and maybe explain a little bit is this string format in here is allowing you to set the color of the mask that it's going to be switching between. So red, green, blue. So I think this one is purple, and then it goes to yellow.
Yellow, yeah.
So yeah, we go purple, yellow, and this is it's just gonna alternate between these colors. And if I wanted to, I could even add another color, like white, for example. And so it's just useful because it's like, if you have different IP adapters, you want the backgrounds to be different colors, like especially mapped to what you've already set up, then you can just specify in the string format all the different colors that you're going to be switching between. And basically it goes first color, and then the next dilation uses the second color, and the third dilation uses the third color. And then once it's hit the third one, it wraps back around to use the first, and then so on and so forth, like that.
And Kajai has that wicked RGB CMYK to mask node where you can like just plug all your one mask in and get all the colored masks out as one. Yeah, that one. And like that, yeah, that is so handy. Like now you just have access to what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 masks.
Yeah, gotta use this if you're. Yeah, because I mean, Yeah, you could individually try and grab all the different colors, but this node just makes it really handy, and this is what I use for this entire array of IP adapters. It's literally
Yeah,
like one node that gets you all the different masks. So
so
yeah,
good.
I really love that using that.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can see here, so we go from
Superb.
purple, yellow, white, so on and so forth.
And if you timed it
And
right, you could probably end on the mask color you started on, right? And like have a nice little contextual
Mhm.
loop. If even if the dancer's not looping, but at least the the dilations will.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's probably, yeah, like you said, you'd have to time it right, which might be tricky.
With
Uh,
audio.
yeah, with audio, it's possible, but
Yeah.
you'd have to spend some time with it.
Another rabbit
Um,
hole?
that's another rabbit hole. Like there's too many. I
Yeah.
can't explore them all. This is why we need agents. Like we need
Yeah.
ChatGPT or Claude or something to like. I need to
Here's
program my
6
consciousness
workflows. Yeah. Mess
into
with them
this
and
machine. And so I
exactly.
could have my clone just go through it and try all these things and then report back and be like, hey, here's like 5 rabbit holes that I spent, the last like 72 hours exploring. And here's the coolest stuff from each of them, right?
That would be
You
awesome.
know.
Then I don't even have to touch my computer anymore. I just go touch grass.
Yeah, I could go touch grass and just be
Let
like, hey,
Jarvis do all the work.
go make
I
a
was thinking
streaming.
Tony Stark, like, thrill me, Jarvis, and then you just like wander off and get drunk,
Yeah, exactly. Like go do my work for me so I
Yeah.
can go live my life and enjoy. Um anyway, yeah, so just quickly running through the threshold, the same
Hmm.
as before. Once it reaches the amplitude, it hits that signal, and this is why we did the binary amplitude gate over here, right? Because it's like we're trimming it at zero point 0.8 in that threshold, so we remapped the signal, like the most strong sort of like beats for the drums to like full 1 or full 0, and so then when you come over to this node, then when you trim it at 8, it's just taking those peaks as like the triggers for each of the mass dilations. And then you got your dilation speed. So this is just how quickly the masks sort of expand outward. Quality, you can leave this at 0.15. If you increase it, it'll make the kernel more accurate for making like perfectly rounded curves, but it's going to take way longer to calculate.
Right. And you probably
So
did like IPAdapter's pretty lenient with like, masks and stuff. Like you can get away with a lot, so you don't need like absolutely perfect masks all the time.
absolutely, yeah. It's you could turn this down to 10 or zero point 0.5. I just find that 0.15 is pretty fast for like a
Best
pretty smooth
value.
result.
Yeah.
Yeah, like pretty balanced result.
That's good to
So
know.
you can tweak that. Should composite subject. So this is basically whether you should take the original subject mask, right? So what this is doing is basically you're inputting a mask, and in this case the mask is the dancer,
Hmm.
and then it's creating the dilations from that mask. And so what this node is saying is, or this option is, should we put the red mask on top of all the dilations?
Oh yeah.
Or you could set that to false, and then it'll just be let's see if we do that, then you'll just get the expanding frames like off of where the dancer was supposed to be, but without the dancer mask. So
Right.
it's another option.
Which might be
uh,
cool if you then composite the original dancer back into the footage, because then you just have these like exploding masks behind them, and you don't lose their personality in their face and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. So here, that's an example of that right there. You can see
Oh
it sort
yeah.
of expanding off of where the dancer used to be.
Yeah.
And then here you just have a couple options. So subject mask color. So what color should that composite mask be that you're putting on top? In this case, red, because it's the channels, red, green, blue. And then what's the initial background color? So this is like what should the starting color be when you
Hmm.
first start this animation? So in this case, we're saying I believe yellow. So yellow,
Yeah.
it's starting yellow, and then it's going, purple, back to yellow, then to white, then purple, yellow, white, etc. So that's what that's for.
Super cool.
And then starting frame and ending frame, that's just when you should start the actual dilation process. So you can stagger
Oh yeah,
it,
like
or
if you
you can
track at an
delay
intro
it.
or something, you wait until there's like a real moment.
Exactly. So that's useful. And same with end frame. You can just say when you want to stop dilating after a certain point. And if you set these to 0, then it's just doing it all the time. So
Sick.
yeah, so that's all the options for that node. Very useful. Uh, hopefully, hopefully you guys can make some cool stuff with it.
Oh,
Because
definitely.
I have like less time to generate cool stuff, and I spend so much time just like making tools.
Yeah.
But that's why I love it. I love it when I go on Instagram or
You start
X or
seeing them?
whatever,
Yeah.
and I see them, and I see like some bigger names and like big projects where people are using these nodes, and I don't know, it's really awesome. Like,
That
love to
feels
see that.
good.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, so basically it's the same node, but instead of having an so instead of reacting to the amplitude, we're setting up a schedule in text.
Hmm.
And so you can specify exactly which frames of the video you want these dilations to start from.
Cool.
So if you have like some scene and you have very specific points that you would like to start the transition at, this is how you can do that.
That would
So
pair
what
well with prompt travel too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you could specify the
Frames,
same
yeah.
same
Or
frame time
yeah.
for each of those. So in this case, the format's pretty simple. It's just saying at frame index 30, with a speed of 15,
This
using
color, yeah.
yeah, make this color, so purple.
Yeah.
And we have similar options as before, right? Like you can choose whether to composite the subject mask onto it, their color, and then also the initial color of the background, the quality factor of the generation. And then interestingly, you can also switch the timing mode. So
Okay.
yeah, this was like one of the, like, somebody raised a GitHub issue saying it would be cool if you could, instead of saying the actual frame
So like first
that you want to
25% of the
transition.
video do this, then do this, then do that.
Yes, exactly. Because what you can do is then if you change how many frames are in your video using frame load cap, and you just want to see what the IP adapter is going to do to your
You can
video.
do a shorter run and jump across all the
Exactly. So
yeah.
just to show an example of that, if you do change it to percentage, then you have to change the string format because this isn't going to work anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, like 0.25 would be, the first.
Oh,
It
this is a float.
calculates
Yeah. Nice.
how many frames are being input with the mask video, and then
Mm-hmm.
it'll just say like, okay, after 0.25 frames, 0.25 times the total number of frames, trigger this mass dilation.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I like using frame though, because I just usually, for the videos that I create, it's like if you have a particular frame that you want something to happen at, then yeah, you wanna have
You
it
just
lined up.
force it. Yeah.
And so we could try and do a little example of that. So what this is, it's just going to be one, one transition, right? Because this video I think is 50 frames.
Mm-hmm.
So the only one that catches is actually the first transition at frame index 30. We're
Right.
saying, go at 15, and then go to from yellow, which is the starting background color, to purple or pink, I guess. Magenta, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's magenta, right?
Purple, magenta, whatever.
Purple,
I'm not a
magenta.
scientist.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to stare at it for too long and my eyes are bleeding. So whatever color you guys see, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so those are like that's the dilation mask effect. I think that was like one part of my node pack that a lot of people maybe know me for, or like
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of like a lot of my workflows are based on those effects. So yeah, I just really wanted to like make a little demo and show off exactly
No, absolutely.
how to
No, it's
use
just point
each
people
of
at
those
this video
nodes.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to go through and use any of these nodes and in your own workflows, or you can use my workflows. All of the mass dilation ones are on my Patreon for free, so you can go there and download it and play with it. And so yeah, I made a few other nodes.
Mhm.
A lot of them are just sort of like utility based ones. We saw some of the audio nodes. I
Mhm.
think an interesting one is this lag chop node, and I literally just pretty much took this straight out of Touch Designer. Um, and what this lets you do is add a little bit of delay to your signal. And what's useful for that is like if you have a video stream and you want to speed up the video and slow it down smoothly and not just like have it be
Stutter.
like a stuttery like mess, then this is what the lag chop node is good at doing. And so to show an example of that, if you set this to 1, it's basically going to preserve the initial signal. So you see here we're using the binary amplitude signal from the drums, and we're using it to drive this video.
Oh yeah.
And so what's cool about this is it's actually using this other node that I created, which is the video speed adjust. So inputting a video and then giving it a float list of float values, you can adjust the speed of the video
Hmm.
over time, and it will loop back on itself. So if your video is only 50 frames, and you're accelerating through the frames because you're using this node, it will sort of wrap back on itself if it needs to fill out all of the frames of your output.
I should have get the damn tensor mismatch when you run out of frames.
Yeah, well, there was plenty of tensor mismatches like when I started working on this node.
Man,
So
and tensor shape, moving stuff in and out of nodes. Don't get me started.
yeah, I've learned a lot about tensors over the last
Yeah,
6 months.
Comfy has a specific tensor shape that like nothing else uses.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually often confuses GPT and Claude. You have to basically put it in your system prompt, like what a tensor shape is supposed to look like and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do that
Or
all the
show
time.
it an example.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you just have to go read the docs on Comfy,
Yeah.
because they set up here. Let me see if I can find it. But ComfyUI has documentation. So if you're trying to get into making your own custom nodes, definitely go here. Go to the core concept section. Go to custom nodes, and then go through this walkthrough. And this walkthrough is fantastic because it teaches you, what's the format that ComfyUI expects your Python files to adhere to, sort of like the API that will allow you to actually, get data from ComfyUI and then output data back into the workflow. So here you go. Yeah, it's a torch tensor with shape, batch, height, width, and channels.
Yeah, batch height
So
width channel.
it's not standard, but that's how they expect it. So yeah, read this if you're trying to get into custom
You can
nodes.
also feed that documentation into Claude or GPT. It will
Yeah,
kind of like understand it and go forward from there. So
I actually did that on
nice.
one of my GPTs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I created
Beautiful.
a custom node guide GPT. So basically, I have these guides for my custom nodes,
Mm-hmm.
and I still need to update some. Like, it's not perfect, but basically, I just took the text from each of these like write-ups that I did, took all the text, threw it in a giant text document, and then said, okay, that's the knowledge base, and threw that into a GPT and said, hey, whenever you're gonna answer a question about custom nodes, refer back to
Oh,
this
sick.
list. So so it can answer questions. Hopefully, and we'll see if it's smart.
Oh, that's really cool.
You
Interactive
can ask
knowledge
a question.
base. Yeah, I love it.
Yes, you could say what are all the nodes in my pack, and then it'll I need to use that auto MD thing that you shared. That's going to be super useful for
Yeah.
allowing me to update this knowledge base much faster because it's a little out of date right now. But I'm going to go back through it and update it with the latest knowledge that I have
Yeah,
on
it's
my
cool if
custom
I
node.
just parse through your MDs and be like, yeah, here you go.
Totally, yeah. So you can go in here, you can ask it questions about specific nodes, like what is it useful for, like what are some examples, and hopefully it gives you a good answer.
Just
I haven't vetted.
hallucinates nonsense. Yeah.
It might,
It
honestly,
can. Yeah,
it
GPT can.
it can. So don't, take whatever it says with a grain of salt, and
Yeah.
you'll probably have to like try it yourself
Try it.
if
Yeah.
it says anything, but it can be useful. I use it sometimes. But anyway, so yeah, so custom node
My
guide is
favorite
there.
thing when you're coding with GPT and it just hallucinates new functions that weren't there before, and you're just like, whoa, 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 slow down. What is this?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's like, oh, I assume that you've already made this and this.
Hmm.
So just yeah, use that and make your functionality. I don't know. It's good in certain cases, and what I found is funny enough, reusing code a lot of times when you're making custom nodes is super useful for giving context to ChatGPT or Claude, because sometimes what I see is like good software engineering practice is usually is dry, like don't repeat yourself,
Right.
and basically that means take out all the same functionality that you're reusing in a bunch of
Reference it
places,
and yeah, reference it
put
instead
it in
of
its own
yeah.
files and reference it. Don't like keep copying and pasting that same code to do the same thing like a bajillion times. It's just not good practice usually. But funny enough, in the case of using ChatGPT to code, because of the limited context window and it's like attention span basically, it's actually better to make custom nodes that are completely self-contained, where all the
Yes.
code is like in one file, and then it just knows, oh, you have this function, this function, this function. Okay, bam, there's your the extra functionality you wanted. And so
Yeah,
so
ideally that'll
you'll see
change
that.
too when we get longer context windows, but for now, yeah. Or if you repeat stuff over and over again, it puts more weight on it.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, you just have to be aware of how much context can you give the models, because they do a
Yeah.
fantastic job, but they just have to know what they're working with, because unfortunately they can't read our minds yet.
Won't be long.
Maybe soon. Won't be long.
I made that node you asked for. I'm like, what? I didn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
could just
thanks,
tell you
Meta.
needed it. Yeah, I could just tell you needed it.
Gonna wear the Meta Ray Bans, and one day it's just gonna be like, oh yeah, here's your custom node pack that you were thinking about the other day.
Down for
Oh
it.
yeah, I mean, I think it's coming for sure.
Human, you're not wearing your glasses.
Oh god.
25 demerit points.
Also credit score just went down.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so yeah, so basically that's the video speed adjust node. It's cool if you're trying to do so. These two nodes were basically what I stole or tried to adapt from Touch Designer.
Yeah.
So the yeah, because it's like you want, on a downbeat, you want the video to sort of like accelerate. And the real place that I made use of this is in the Audioreactive dancers workflow.
Mm.
So you can see what we're doing is, in this workflow, we're generating some of these cool like noise patterns, and that's what creates these sort of like interesting geometric effects.
Hmm.
And then it creates a loop. So it creates a batch of images for one pattern. And then what I'm doing is playing that pattern, like walking through the video, but then modulating how quickly it plays based on some audio signal. So in this case, we have the drum. So you can see the drum signal here, and then what we're doing is we're adding a little bit of lag to it, so that it, instead of just being like super, well, let me see if I can find that really quick. But actually, drums, yeah. So we have these sort of like specific impulses at these particular times. That's like
Hmm.
when the drums are hitting.
Yeah.
And if we didn't use this, then it would just be those peaks, and then the video would sort of play and then stop, play and stop, play and stop. But by adding this lag factor, you can see it sort of plays and then it slowly slows down. So it's not just ever stopping. And so what we also do is, so this signal, this original signal, is going between 0 and 1. So it's basically like when it's high, it's playing the video, and when it's low, it's or 0, it's not playing the video. And then I have this other utility node called rescale float list. And this basically just remaps the max and min values. So I'm
Oh,
saying
that's
like the
handy.
minimum,
Yeah.
yeah, so the minimum that this value is allowed to be is 0.5. So what that means is that it's always playing the video at like half speed, right? Because
Hmm.
1.0 is normal speed, and you can adjust that based on the frames per second. So if it's 30 FPS, then a value of 1 is playing the video at 30 frames per second. So if you set this to 0.5, then it's going to be playing at 15 frames per second. But because we're outputting at 30 in our video combined, you'll see each frame twice,
Okay.
right? So that's how it works. And then when we set, then you can remap it so then the max is higher. So what I'm saying here is when you get to one of these impulses, play the video 20 times faster than you normally would. And
Right.
so what that's going to do is actually just probably like skip some frames from
Yeah.
your video in order to make it look like it's moving faster and slower. And that's how you get this effect where it's sort of you know
Changing
it's
on the
moving
beat.
slowly, and then on the beat it like moves quickly and then stops and then moves quickly, and then it's interesting. It's a cool effect, I think.
No, it's cool, and it's cool to get it out of touch and into this.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there's a lot of things you can do in Comfy with painting over things and
Hmm.
upscaling. That's super handy to have in the workflow.
Yeah.
Um, and so before I was, I would have to create the final animation, put it into, import it into Touch Designer, output the result from Touch Designer, import it back into ComfyUI,
Yeah.
do some additional pass to like upscale it. Um, and then there's like issues where sometimes the dynamicism and like you lose a little bit of detail and like the flashing and stuff. So a lot of times I ended up just using Topaz to upscale it instead of using ComfyUI to preserve as
Yeah.
much detail as possible.
It's a little faster too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Topaz is fantastic. But anyway, so in this workflow particularly, yeah, that's where I use these custom nodes. And um, so yeah, once we get our output, we combine them together
Yeah.
and using this composite, and then you get this cool effect where you have like the yellow mask is moving in a certain way, but then you also have um, the purple mask is like intersecting parts of the yellow mask. So
It's awesome.
just does all kinds of crazy stuff, and this workflow could get infinitely more complex, right? Like you could add more groups, so you could have even more masks. And I've tried that, and it just
Let's do
at some
16
point,
colors instead of 8.
yeah, at some point there's too many colors overlapping to where IPAdapter just can't really figure out what am I supposed to draw and like what parts of the screen. So I'd say like one color or like two colors max is a good trade-off.
Hmm.
But yeah, the end result of this Audioreactive dancers workflow is that you get something like this, where you have the background and then you have your dancer in the foreground. And just for fun, I added the Audioreactive dilate mask
Hmm.
so that
Oh, looks
there's like an
great.
additional color on the dancer
Yeah,
that
you can
plays
just
over the
imagine
dancer.
like how cool that'll be when you start passing it through diff and feeding different context into the colors and stuff. Because like, the sky's the limit
Yeah,
then.
yeah, the sky's the limit. I mean, I try to do some stuff like this is
Oh
a
yeah,
work in progress. Uh, it's just kind of crazy right now.
it's
But
super cool. Another thing I've noticed you can do too is if you want to get separation, if you line art that final mask there and then run that as a control net, it actually helps solidify all the edges of the masks. So you can, yeah, you're doing it already. But yeah,
yeah, I'm
that's
doing
like, yeah, that's like the secret sauce of like, because IP adapters masks are kind of soupy, right? Like they're,
yeah,
if just on
100%.
their
That was
own, they're super soupy, but control net is the sort of fixer.
right. That was one of the biggest issues when I was first trying to mess with this and make it actually output and be able to see the background shapes and everything was it's a lot of tinkering. It's a lot of tinkering with the strength of the control
Yeah,
net in
start and end in
particular.
strength. Yeah.
And just different combinations. Like I found, sometimes I disable the AnimateDiff control
Hmm.
net, QR QR code. I disable that a lot of times.
Yeah, there's no
And then
best practices. It's whatever works for the clip, right?
yeah, and sometimes you want like different things. Like sometimes
Yeah.
you don't want the background effect. Like in this case, in this example, the background effect is really strong. So
Hmm.
it's actually like very, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background. Sometimes you want that to be a lot more subtle. And so as an example of what, see, this is why I need to organize my, oh, there we go.
It's still more organized than mine.
I'm working on it. But here's an example of making the effect more subtle.
Nice.
So it's not some crazy, liquid movement stuff in the background.
Hmm.
It's sort of making use of the existing, there's lots of stuff going on in this background that line art can find and depth anything can find, so that when you're generating, if you set the strength of your depth control net higher and the strength of like your line art and some other control net's lower, then you'll get like a really strong effect where the
You
like
still got the
all the
room.
yeah, you still have the room. Like you can see like the lamps are there, like the
Hmm.
the trestle or whatever up here is still
Yeah.
there. And it sort of looks like it's almost like a projection mapping, right? It's like you're projecting the shapes and the moving stuff like onto the background instead of just having the background completely go away and just have this like crazy, mess of colors and stuff. So there's a lot of power, a lot of flexibility and functionality in this workflow that I haven't even fully explored. So, um, yeah,
I just make the tools, man. I don't use
I
them.
just make the tools. Like, if somebody wants to come along and use this and make something like really, really dope with it, then like, that's awesome. That's what I
Or if
want.
there's something you want to see, like open an issue or, reach out. Cause you might think of something that we or Cass didn't think of or whatever, or something. What are the node developers want to hear from you? It's don't feel like you're being annoying when you're talking about the nodes, because that's why we made them, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't
unless you are
hesitate.
being a pest, then fuck off. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you'll know because all of a sudden I'll just go offline
Stop
in the
talking.
middle of our conversation
Yeah.
with
Well, I'm
no
done with this.
explanation. But no, yeah, definitely. If you're trying to play with this workflow, or you're trying to get a better grip around some of the custom nodes that I put out there, or if you have ideas for how to improve the custom nodes, just shoot me a DM on Discord, on social media if you come across my account. I want to hear, like, I want to get all the feedback possible, because all of your feedback is what ends up going into the tools to make them
Yeah.
better, so that they're better for you and also the rest of the community as well. And I definitely can't think of everything myself. Like, I have some ideas I think occasionally, but really, yeah, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of stuff to explore, and I
Oh
mean, you
yeah.
guys are out there every day in the trenches, like finding out new stuff. Um, so yeah, if there's something you want me even to like take a look at or work on or port, then yeah, let me know.
Can you
Happy
port
to.
Sora?
Can I port Sora?
Yeah, just real quick. Just smack that out. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just hack into
Just go
OpenAI's
download the
database,
weights. Yeah, yeah.
figure out.
What the
Because
hell's going on there?
I know.
Write
I
your
mean,
own inference code.
I'm sure like once they come out with it, it's going to be extremely locked down and
Oh yeah,
really
I don't think we'll ever see the
controlled.
weights for Sora. No.
Mm-mm. Um, but that would be fantastic if. Can you imagine if they release the weights one day and
Just
it's like,
drop
oh
them
yeah,
like a torrent, like they do the Grok thing, and just drop a torrent.
yeah, and then
Like
Kajai would make
900 gigabyte weight.
yeah, you just have to download a terabyte.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Also, you have to
But I'm sure,
infer on a terabyte.
yeah, I'm sure Kajai would have like a 2-bit
Yeah, yeah.
quantization version in like
I got
the
it running
first
on
like
4 gigs on the 2070. If you want to try it,
in
it takes
15
it
seconds
takes
after they
15
drop it.
years. Yeah, it takes 15 years, but it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of like talented people. I think we could pool our brains together and figure out how to make Sora work on some consumer hardware maybe. Um, but yeah, no, I think I'm waiting for that, and I think what was it Black Forest Labs has their video model that's like in the works too, right? Like that's what some people were talking about.
Oh yeah, there's actually a rumor that Flux is not an image model.
Oh,
It's a video
interesting.
model that makes uno framo.
That is interesting. Yeah,
That
but
is interesting. Just one day they're
hmm,
gonna go bloop, and suddenly it's a video model. But who knows? I mean, that could just be bullspit, but it could be interesting.
hmm.
It's fun to think about. We've just been sitting with
Yeah,
the video model on our hard drives for this long. I haven't figured out how to unlock it yet.
yeah, for real. It would be that would actually be crazy. If somebody figures out like what if somebody figures out with Flux? What if you just tweak some particular setting like
It
deep
suddenly
in the
makes
weights,
videos. Yeah.
suddenly outputs videos and it's like super temporally consistent and just
Yeah.
works perfectly.
Maybe
I
that's
don't
what they're
know.
hoping for. They're hoping the community will just crack it. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, and then the same day they'll announce that they released the video model.
That's what they're waiting for. And then they'll drop API
Soon as,
access for
yeah,
Pro. Yeah.
as soon as somebody cracks it, then they'll release it officially, maybe.
But
So
speaking of Flux, Flux Tools dropped today. Have you played with that at all?
no, have
I
not.
started,
I
but I
saw
haven't
that.
dove in yet. It looks crazy. They added they're not control nets, they're actually LoRa's, but they have a depth and canny inputs for the LoRa's, and they added a in painting and out painting model, and they added a redreaming model, so you can like reinterpret images. So yeah,
Oh,
they've been hard at work. Hard at work.
that's awesome. Yeah, definitely gonna have to dive into that.
Yeah.
But that's funny. Redream as opposed to my
Yeah. I forget what they called
my.
it. I think I just called it that because I had it on the brain, but I think theirs
No,
is
that's. I think
something
you're right. I
similar
think
but
you're right.
different. Yeah.
I think you're right. Actually, I think I saw that.
But it's
Um,
cool. Yeah, it's really neat. The examples
yeah,
look great. I haven't gotten anything that looks like the examples yet, but I'm chalking that up to user error.
Oh, I mean, it's probably gonna take a little bit of time to
Learn how it
experiment with it.
works. Yeah.
I'm definitely that's definitely something I'm gonna try. Well, I'm sure you'll have a chance to try it out, and then maybe you can post your experience with it, and then I'll take a look. Once some of the early early adopters have figured some things out.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess this is one of the major workflows I wanted to talk about. But yeah, one of the other ones I think I just wanted to briefly touch on Depthflow because that was the
Oh
other one
yeah,
that I
yeah. Show it
spent
off.
a lot of time working on.
I'm
Let
just
me
gonna grab a
find.
glass of water while you start, but I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, no worries. Okay, so I want to talk about this workflow because I think this one's fun. But basically, this uses Depthflow to make a infinite seamless tile output, and so I can sort of walk through this workflow later if you guys are interested. But let me try and find my default Depthflow workflow here. Depthflow. Showcase. Let's see if this works. So if I just hit enter, we will see if nothing is broken. It's promising. It's loading. And bam. Awesome. Okay. So this is what Depthflow is. Basically, it lets you create sort of 3D looking animations from a 2D image. So generated this image in SDXL, threw it into this input node here. This is another workflow that's available on my Patreon for free. It's just a showcase of Depthflow and some of the controls you have to make different animations. But yeah, basically you add your input image here. You can adjust how long the video, like the final output video, is in seconds. So in this case, I'm saying 5 seconds. Um, so basically, what's going to happen is we're going to take this image and we're going to run it through depth anything. So we're going to create the depth map that you can see here. And so what's interesting with this node is if you just use the depth map that you get from passing in your input image directly as input to Depthflow, you'll see that there's some artifacts around the edges, and it's because
Oh
see
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like
It's like
streaking
stretching it
here.
out. Yeah.
And it's because depth anything is fantastic. It's so accurate, but it's too accurate. It's so accurate to the edges that when Depthflow tries to extrude out or like pull the depth away from the background, it will like find the edges of your image and sort of like wrap it around that 3D part. So what I do to sort of counter and get around that is I add a dilation, me and dilation mask.
Yeah.
So
Who knew? Who knew that would be
yeah.
your niche?
Who knew that would be my thing? I don't know. Not me. So so yeah, basically you take the depth map, you run it through image to mask. It grabs based on like intensity values, like grayscale, and then you can actually dilate the depth map itself. So edges on the depth map sort of get fatter, and then by dilating it, you get around this this streaking because it basically makes the underlying 3D shape like larger than the image that you're trying to project onto. So let's see if that fixes it. And yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
that's super interesting. That's a great
Yeah,
hack.
yeah. So it's a little hack, and it's funny because the Depthflow, just for context, is not my original creation. It's not my code. It's Tremeskin's code. So we go to let's see if I can find his website really quick.
This is the cool thing about Comfy. Like at the end of the day, Comfy is a Python workflow automation tool, really. We make art with it, but you can do all kinds of stuff, like just wrapping anything in Python, basically. And that's what you've done here. And Kajai is, I think he's the king. He's got like 100 wrappers or something.
Yeah, that man cannot be stopped.
No, it's wild.
He just keeps rapping. It's insane. But anyway, yeah. So Tremeskin, if you want to go check out his GitHub, he's the one who put together this broken source software, sort of like mono repo, which contains several projects. But one of the projects, let's see, I think this is. Oh yeah, so Depthflow is basically a sub project of this whole set of code that he's created. But basically, he's created a way to make to render GLSL shaders in Python like really really quickly.
Oh, cool.
Almost like it's like a shader toy.
Yeah.
But with like an easy to use sort of extensible format in Python. So it's really really good. It renders like extremely fast, even on systems that are not extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And so Depthflow is just one of the sort of like extensions to Shaderflow. Shaderflow is like the original.
He's in the chat. Oh, hi, it's me.
Oh yeah, I bet he would probably like do a better job of explaining this than me. But anyway,
do you know what? Sorry, do you know what the VRAM requirement is for this? Someone's asking in the chat.
It's really like it's pretty low actually. I haven't calculated
cool.
The exact.
Yeah. So probably under 16. They're asking if it's under 16.
Definitely. Like this could probably run like in under 8 gigs. Honestly, like
awesome.
I haven't tested it on an 8 gig or a 4 gig card, but I would imagine it would work.
Nice.
It actually, you can do CPU rendering to some degree as well. So yeah, I'm not the expert. Tremeskin's the expert. He can probably answer questions as well. But yeah, so basically Depthflow is this amazing project he's been working on. And I said, how awesome would it be to get it into ComfyUI?
Yeah.
Before I was actually using this website called I think it was Leapix or Immersity.
Right.
And I see a lot of people actually using that site to generate these similar style of animations, like adding the 3D field with like a depth map. And I was surprised there wasn't an open source alternative easily
There
accessible and
was
comfy.
one in SD in Automatic 1111. There used to be like a
Hmm.
depth suite that did this kind of stuff, but it used like Python to mesh. It
Yeah,
took forever,
it
basically.
took forever.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I tried it. I think I tried it one day because I was curious.
It's
I
crazy. Yeah, it
saw
takes a
that,
long time.
and yeah, for one image to create a video would like took forever. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Um,
Because,
and that's
like,
when I
yeah, if you think about it, it's not that like this. Yeah, it should be this fast.
it should be really fast. So and I was looking for some alternatives to Immersity, and that was like the main reason why I was like interested in this. But yeah, so I couldn't find anything in Comfy, and then I found Depthflow just by searching, like Leopix alternative, I think, and so SEO brought
Hell
me
yeah.
to the GitHub, and since then I've sort of been like interacting with Tremeskin and trying to figure out how to best use this
Tremeskin
this kind of
says
stuff.
show them the parameters section of the website. It's easier to
Oh,
showcase.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So the parameters section is fantastic. So basically, like in Depthflow, and this applies
Wow.
to the ComfyUI nodes as well. There's a set of like parameters that you can tweak that will adjust how the animation, the resulting animation looks.
Sick.
So this section of the website goes over each of those. So here you can see by adjusting the height, you're actually adjusting like how much almost like depth the scene has,
Mhm.
how like
Looking
I don't
Glass
know,
calls it depthiness.
the depthiness,
The
exactly,
depthiness. Yeah, the
the
depthiness of
depthiness.
it.
Uh, and then there's some other settings,
Offset
right?
side
Like
to
you got
side.
like
Yeah.
offset side to side. You can do
Oh,
circular
yeah.
motions by adding sine and cosine to some of those as well. And so the steady value also is like sort of like the focal point in the scene. So
Yeah.
if you adjust it to be more centered, then as you go around the
It's
offset, it sort
like
of like pivots around
orbiting.
a
Yeah.
point. So you get like an orbiting effect, and then isometric
Oh,
as
that's
well, like sort
interesting.
of
Yeah.
changes the perspective, sort of, so you can get more like of like sort of like a dolly effect.
hmm
Um, yeah, there's a lot of like really good examples here.
Oh, Dolly works good too. Yeah.
Dolly, or here's the real dolly. The dolly zoom effect here is when you combine
Oh,
some
the
of the.
Kubrick. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, I love this. I love this like effect. I
That's
think
great.
it's super super useful. And
Yeah. Focus is the FOV. Yeah.
yeah, and then zoom, of course, is the other one that's like pretty self-explanatory. But anyway,
Yeah.
so you have all these buttons and knobs that you can play with, and so
Mm.
by combining different combinations of these of changing these values over time, you can make some really interesting animations. And so that's where like there's this concept of some presets.
Right.
So basically, what I did is I took the main depth flow node is where all the rendering is happening, but there's the ability to add in motion nodes, and so these motion nodes are what are actually going to apply these changes to all these parameters over the length of your animation. And so there's a couple sections here, and basically what I did is I separated the nodes into presets and components.
Okay.
And so presets are like you just want to get something that looks good out of the box. Batteries included. Just
hmm
just throw on an orbital preset and run your image and your depth map through Depthflow, and it'll create this effect, right? Like it's orbiting.
hmm But
and
then if you want
you
to
can
tweak, you could totally tweak.
yeah you can tweak some things, like you can change the intensity value, right? So if you
Mm.
you bump up the intensity, it's going to it's gonna be more pronounced when it's actually. So we'll see that. But the thing is, like, the more you bump up the intensity, the more chance for the animation to look kind of
To
wonky.
rip.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, so now it's like really a lot more pronounced, and you can go crazy with that if you want.
And so then you could actually dilate the mask edges a bit too, like more if you're getting that rip again, right?
Yeah, totally. And that like I set 5 here in this showcase, but you can crank it up or crank it down depending on this. Like it depends on the image. The context of the image is really
hmm
important. but here's like that dolly zoom style
Oh,
effect,
that's
which
awesome.
is really cool. So you can throw in whatever kind of images you want, and
Yeah, like I
just
bet everybody in the chat has folders and folders of Midjourney images you've already made or whatever. Like this is a great way to like reinvigorate those images with some life, you know.
yeah, 100%. And I probably have like some, like if I just dig through all my videos, I had like a series of renders that I made. Did I? Yeah, see, I gotta get organized.
You're still more organized than me. Mine's just in one folder, and then I just make date folders and never look at them again.
Yeah. Oh, okay, here we go. Wait.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I made like a little like sizzle reel, sort of like just using different images that I generated.
yeah, that looks awesome.
And so you can see in different contexts, like some images work really well and some less well. This is another this is the other workflow I wanted to talk about. But basically, if you just want to try and get up and running with Depthflow and play with the presets, this is like a really good workflow. It's available for free on the Patreon. You can go download it, mess with it. Let's see. So then I also made this seamless tiling node workflow.
Oh
And so
yeah,
this
I
makes
saw you. I think you tweeted about this.
Yeah, so this makes more advanced use of
That's so
Depthflow
cool.
to make some crazy crazy 3D
Yeah,
effects.
like infinite world.
And I have like a lot of let's see. I have a lot of like videos that I was creating. These are PNGs though, actually. I think, where is it? Spooky tiles? Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
was
I remember
testing out
seeing this one. Yeah,
random things, but
I like how
this is
they're like jiggling to the beat.
they're jiggling to the beat because I integrated it with this Depthflow node pack. It makes use of Ryan's flex features, so you can make them audio. You can modulate the
Oh,
parameters with a feature. So if you take his audio pack,
mm,
you separate out the like the drum track, for example, in this case, then you can feed it into the component
that's
for
cool.
height or the depthiness and make it
Yeah,
bobble like in time to the beat.
the little heads are
But
going.
yeah, but this workflow is basically just you've got it's basically prompt to like text to video, and
Hmm.
so you input your prompt here. I'm using I think it's like the Xavi Chroma XL V9
Mm.
model, and then a isometric tile map LoRa. So that sort of pairs really well with this with the seamless tile node over
Yeah,
here. Because the goal is we want a scene that looks like you can tile it in every direction, X, Y, and it'll just be seamless at the edges. So yeah, so if you generate, you bump the seed here, you can see what it looks like to generate. But basically, I have one pass through the K sampler to just generate like the initial image, and then I have I pass it through another K sampler to upscale, the latent a little bit and give it, more high resolution output.
hmm
And so that can help sort of like clean up some details and add a little bit more to the scene. And then, we have a couple previews here, so you can see what it looks like if you just offset the image a little bit, just to make
oh
sure it
yeah.
really is seamless, and then output it here. Oh, my computer is lagging. Uh-oh.
Should be all right.
Okay,
Just
be
loading
good?
models. Yeah,
Okay. I saw my VRAM spike and I was getting scared.
yeah,
Um, but basically, yeah. So that's how we generate these seamless tiled images. And then when you get to this section, you have the chance to, if you want to override it. So for example, I could override. I could, click here, bypass this whole group, and then
just
unbypass the
upload. Yeah,
override,
just upload an image.
and that just skips the first rendering step if you just want to go ahead and make like a tile video.
Yeah,
The making the depth work for this was actually one of the hardest parts,
yeah.
because what happens is if you feed a seamless tile image into depth anything, it's going to give you a perspective of depth. So what that means is like
Which doesn't
object,
translate when the camera moves, right?
right. so there's going to be edges. So right, so
Yeah.
like the beginning, up front here, it thinks everything's closer to the camera, and then back here it's darker values. It thinks it's farther away. So you get this sort of like perspective plane that's, and then if you try to layer that using like on the seamless tiling, it's going to have very visible edges, and as the camera moves, you're going to see these cuts, and it looks not great. So I created this node called make depth map seamless. Yeah, it does that. It
That's
makes the
really
depth
cool.
map seamless, and I wish I knew exactly how it worked. I actually had O1 preview give me a bunch of different implementations of this
Wow.
algorithm to get it to work right, because it was really, really finicky, and sometimes it would have results that wouldn't line up quite right. And still, it's not perfect. Like there's still edge cases, but it's much better than before.
Oh,
But
I get
basically,
it.
the goal,
Edge cases, edges.
edge
Yeah,
cases. There
edges.
you
Oh,
go. I
yeah, yeah.
totally. I was
So,
waiting for that one. Um, but yeah, so I was basically like, so the way it works is it basically tries to guess the perspective of the camera, and then tries to reorient the whole perspective of the frame so that it's
mm.
matches the camera, and then it offsets all of the depth values to that new plane. Um, so it works
Have
for
you
the
tried
most
that on
part.
like a dancer mask, like a animated mask?
No.
I wonder what that would do.
This is where I said, like, there's a
I
lot of
gotta try
things.
that.
There's a lot of things that there's a lot of potential in these nodes, and just like in workflows and nodes in general
It'll
that I
take
haven't
some nerd to
explored.
go, what if?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so if you have an idea, just try it and let me know, because
Mhm.
I'm really curious about what things that I'm just being completely stupid and completely overlooking that are like amazing. Will do like amazing things.
Yeah, like I wonder if it
Um,
would make like a really, really tight, interesting depth map that's like less tied to the original camera footage. I don't know. It's worth checking out.
yeah, for sure. Definitely. Like I said, try it out.
That looks
But
awesome though. With like you can actually see the sort of the size of the trees and stuff. It's cool. It's very cool.
yeah, so this is like one of the ways so this was the effect I was trying to go for. It's just like a never-ending loop of tiles that have depth to them. And like I was trying to figure out a way to do it so that you could have animation in the scene. And I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that. I actually have
Oh,
like a
oh,
pro.
oh! We can talk because I've done a lot of seamless video tiling. So yeah,
Um, yeah, extra spooky tiles.
extra spooky. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go.
There you go. So this combined a lot of different things,
Oh, that looks great.
more than the last workflow. But basically, I there's a lot that went into this. But basically, I took the seamless image, and then I ran it through AnimateDiff. So I batched it.
Right.
I made a video of the still image, and then I ran it through AnimateDiff to sort of add like the smoke and sort of like the flickering candles, and it just sort of like adds a little bit
Hmm.
more life to the scene. And then on top of that, I added a dancing skeleton, which I generated from using, I think I used Mimic Motion for that.
Mm.
So Kajai's got like a good workflow for setting that up.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, you can take a reference image. So I used a skeleton and then a dancer, and then it'll make it look like they're dancing. And then I used SAM2 to basically pull the mask of the skeleton out, and then pasted it on top of the image, and then ran it through the seamless Depthflow uh, workflow to do all this stuff. So
It
it was
looks
like a big
awesome.
step process, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, this is my latest sort of like version of that, and I'm hoping to spend more time and actually turn that into like a fully fledged workflow.
It's just a
Um,
just a thread knot of a workflow.
yeah, it's gonna be there's a lot of steps involved, but
Yeah.
yeah. So for the most part, there's cool things you can do with Depthflow. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's
Um,
superb.
Yeah, so that's that. The only other thing I wanted to like talk about was the video utils workflow. I
Mm.
also have this one up for free on my Patreon. So
Oh, sick.
this there's just a bunch of things that I tend to need when I'm generating like videos,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are like pretty basic, right? So for example, I have a mask of some color or some image in the scene which has like a black background or so, So one of the things that you can do is I created this node called normalize image color, which based on a threshold um, will turn all pixels that are not like black
Yeah.
basically to one color. So you're sort of like normalizing the values. So this is useful if you just want to change the color of like a mask video, or if you have like multiple mask colors, you can just make it one color. That's useful.
Super sick.
This one's basic, just change mask color. So you can
Yeah.
change it from red, green to whatever you want. This one's interesting. You can actually crop out parts of the video. So like in this case, there is some like anime being played at the top there, and I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
want
yeah.
that because when you run it through the preprocessor like
Matt,
liner,
it starts masking stuff.
it starts finding like OpenPose started like adding little skeletons to the anime characters in the background. I didn't
Right.
didn't want that.
Yeah, open
So
pose is really sticky. It can find poses everywhere.
so this just lets you say you can define an offset to the top or the bottom,
Oh, that's
and
super handy.
and then you can basically add this like black bar to the top or bottom depending on how much of the scene you need to sort of crop.
Hmm.
So that's handy. Easily, yeah. This is a simple one. Just you input an image, repeat the image by this many frames, and then it outputs the video as
Yeah.
that.
Nice.
Um, this one you can take an input mask and then you can add blur to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of cases, especially like compositing, where adding that little extra blur just makes the edge
Yeah.
more seamless and it looks a lot better. Um, yeah, basic ones like you can resize a video here. So, upscale by or width and height, and then you switch between them using this little Boolean if you want. Interpolate just interpolates using Rife. I've got some basic other ones too, like concatenation videos. So if you have like your input video or like a picture and another video, then it will just like combine them together into using the Kajai's node, of course, image concatenate multi,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll just create like a little showcase video,
Yeah, super handy.
putting them together. That one's useful for like social media when you want to
Yeah.
like post stuff.
Try to show what
This
something does.
exactly, yeah. This just grabs a frame. This converts your video into a GIF. These are all the preprocessors. So if you want to just do OpenPose, depth, or line art, and you don't want to have to run a big workflow to actually get those, you can do it here, and then just import those values into your other workflow. I think the really cool one is compositing. So this lets you basically add like a cutout based on a mask from one
Mm-hmm.
video and apply it onto either a solid color background, a video, or an image.
Perfect.
And you can switch between them. So if I set this to
I
0
always build
and
all these workflows every single time I need them, so this would be super
oh man,
handy to just grab them.
yeah, I know. I mean, I was doing that before too, and then I was
Mhm.
like, hey, I need to
Wait a
have some
minute.
like
Yeah.
centralized way to do this. So yeah, the
Mhm.
first one's black. The second one, we're applying it to the video here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And then also if you set 3 or 2, it's the image input, so you can
Cool.
add whatever image you want there, and it'll paste it on. So there you go.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
use this a lot. Very nice. Face restore. This is just a classic, like if you need to add faces and like fix them later. There's a lot of workflows that actually have this. Like I think JPoogs, like a lot of his workflows had face restore.
Mhm.
And then the other interesting one I want to talk about is segment subjects. So this is the one I was talking about where you can bring these masks. You can create mask videos from here, and then bring that into your other workflow. So in this case, like I can go
Oh, it's
ahead
showing you
and
the points. Yeah.
yeah, you can actually manually add the points to a scene. So in this case, it's like I want the the girl selected and not the drum. And in this case, I want the drum to be selected, but not anything else. And then the goal is that after we run this, we'll have we'll have Sam2 run through it, and hopefully it will grab the different parts that we want.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, like you can see it grabbed the girl and not the
Oh,
drum.
beauty. Yeah.
Oh, and then of course something broke. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to break.
That's the classic.
We're on live. It's got to break.
It's got to break. There's because I'm feeding this into B boxes, I think, instead of. Oh yeah. And I gotta move the points because it upscaled. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yep. All right. Let's see if that worked. Maybe. Get the drum. Oh, there we go. I got the drum. Sweet. Yeah, so you can output it onto the video itself.
Yeah.
Or you can turn this on, which is use black background, and it will
rip it out.
It will just rip it out, so you have like the black background. And
beautiful.
This is then what you can use in the other workflows to target with your IP adapters. And I also use this a bunch, so I really wanted to talk about that. But yeah, this is the video utils workflow. I'm still adding stuff to it. I'm still tweaking it. It's growing
super
slowly.
sick.
But you can go ahead. Like I said, go to my Patreon. You can download it. It's pinned, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna put all of your. I'm also gonna put all your links in the description of this video. So I forgot to do it before the stream, but after the stream, you guys will be able to get all the links. Will be in the description below for socials and Patreon and all that stuff, and custom nodes, your GitHub and all that stuff, so people can just start exploring.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean that's just like an overview. Like if you're interested in some particular workflow that I've created, because I have a decent number on Patreon. In my workflow, in my workflows, I try to put links to the workflow guides, so you can actually go to a particular workflow. And
you guys see this? This is a developer who does documentation. This is a very rare bird indeed.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I realized early is like I can create a bunch of awesome tools, but if nobody knows how they work, then it's not actually going to be used. So
and then you start getting mad when everybody asks you how to use them, and it's like, wait, no, there's got to be a better solution for this.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Right?
Not mad, like, but it's just like you get tired of explaining everything 50 times.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I know it's hard because there's so much information out there. It's very overwhelming, and so I I put this stuff out there to try and make it so that if you are somebody who's going to tinker with the workflow and spend like hours trying to get something to work, hopefully you can look through this guide and try and see, okay, this is how this section works, this is how the prompt should be set up, this is how the audio processing group is set up. So there's some resource so that you don't try and message me and then I'm just offline for like 20 hours and don't get back to you.
You're just not doing anything for 20 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm just hiding because I don't want to answer.
Yeah, social batteries are exhausted.
Yeah, 100%. But then I try to put together some guides too, like some YouTube
beautiful
some YouTube guides. I'm still working on those. Like I'm still trying to get to some of the workflows, but YouTube it's a lot of work. Yeah. So, respect to you, Purz.
Oh, this is the easy. You just stream it and save it. I don't edit this stuff. It's just what you get is what you get. This is much easier than having to like go and painstakingly edit all my videos. But it is what it is.
I think that's a good way to go about it, honestly, because it takes a long time, and like I'm sort of a perfectionist, so a lot of times I'll sit there in CapCut and just watch the video 10 times over for like a 40 minutes of me explaining the workflow, and it takes all day. So yeah, maybe the stream is the best way to go about it.
It's great. I mean, this stream alone is like, it's like a full overview of the nodes. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So hopefully, we can we can try and section it maybe at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll
I
put
can
some
try to
bookmarks in there. Yeah, for sure.
because I try to do that. I try to do that with my videos is like say, this section is for this because I know like, nope, most people are not going to sit through a,
Two and a
like a
half hour
2 hour
stream.
video or
Yeah.
2.5 hour stream.
Hmm.
But there are parts of the stream that might be useful, for
Yeah,
specific things. And so that's why having the bookmarks really awesome. Um, yeah, so
absolutely.
again, I got some workflow guides. I've got some custom node guides. I try to put the links again in my workflows and also on my Patreon. And I should probably put more links on my website as well because I have, if you go to akatz.ai,
Hmm.
then you can come to my website and yeah, I've got like Patreon. And then you can click on guides here, and it will take you to
Ah,
the main
nice.
overview. So you got not only the workflow guides that I've created, but also like the workflow guides GPT. So if you want to talk to that, I've copy and pasted all of the text from my workflow guides into
Talk
that.
to that instead of me.
Yeah.
Talk to my robot.
Talk to my robot. I mean, honestly, like a lot of the questions, I don't know. I'm just saying, you can ask the GPT. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing tool. GPT will answer a lot of questions that maybe you don't expect.
Yep.
So yeah, check out the guide. Maybe check out a video if there's a video.
Hmm.
If you have some specific questions, ask the GPT. If you still have questions, then yeah, hit me up. Send me a DM, and I'll be happy to take a look at whatever your project is and see if I can help.
Well, man, I mean, thanks for all your work on behalf of the community. Like, this is you're extending the toolkits, infinitely. And like the amount of stuff you've already given the community to play with is, overwhelming. So, just again, just thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like I said, the community's been amazing, like super welcoming, like everybody's super friendly. Super happy I was able to get involved and find like a little niche here.
Oh yeah.
And definitely thank you, Purz, for doing these kinds of streams. Like you said, I think there's a lot of people who are doing amazing work that maybe just don't necessarily always come into the limelight or
Hmm.
want to set up their own platform and have their own followers to do share what they're actually working on. So
Yeah, it's an
really
exhausting grind.
it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. And I'm trying. Like I've been posting, I've
Hmm.
got some stuff I'm cooking on, but it's just a long grind. So
Yeah, we
so
all
yeah,
just need to
people like
pull each
you,
other up.
yeah, who've been through the grind can definitely help the uncover some of these people. So yeah,
For
thank you.
sure.
Thank you for that.
Of course. Is there anything you want to talk about you got coming up, or anything you want to plug, or any cool stuff you got cooking? You want a sneaky taste? Get anybody? Got any?
So I told you about the environment manager that
Oh
I'm working on,
yes. Oh
and
yes.
I think that's going to be potentially a very helpful tool. Maybe I can give a little sneak peek here. Let's see if I can find it because I didn't really
Mhm.
plan to talk about it, but I'll see if I.
It would
Oh,
be
my son.
perfectly on brand if it all fell apart. So don't sweat it.
Oh yeah, no. That's why I said the
My
only thing that's.
presentation in Japan completely fell apart, and
Oh no.
like technically, and I'm just like, this is completely on brand for me, guys. Like, this is perfect. If you ever see my streams, this is exactly what happened.
Oh yeah. I mean that's why I said it's like problems on these kinds of things, like especially with ComfyUI and
Mhm.
like anything technical, like problems are inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's what
Yeah,
makes it fun.
and not being scared and facing the problems is 90% of the battle. Like, just reading the damn error messages, right? Like, or Googling the error messages can get you so far.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. And like I said, GPT is an amazing tool. If you just
Hmm.
copy and paste a lot of error messages, a lot of times it'll just know what to do. Like it'll just tell you, hey, yeah, you're missing this library, or you're missing, this piece of software you need to download on your computer. And a lot of times that's all I need, and I'll get through a lot of problems. So I can't stress using ChatGPT and Claude and all that for help is very, very powerful. But anyway, so I wanted to give a little sneak peek. I'm working on a environment manager for ComfyUI, and I started working on this because I was having lots of problems with getting consistent environments working in Comfy. And by environments, I mean, think about times where you've wanted to test out a new custom node and you have an existing installation of ComfyUI. And if you install this new custom node, it might install new packages that could screw up your existing environment.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like in the worst case, you install a new custom node, it breaks something, and then you have to go re-download ComfyUI and reinstall a bunch of custom nodes, and it's a pain. And it's also, yeah, like sometimes if you want to try new things, like you would have to have multiple installations of ComfyUI in order to go between like, oh, I use this one for most of my workflows, but I use this one to like try out sketchy new nodes from other people, and this one for like this one particular workflow that I need. Um, so a way to sort of switch between environments really quickly and easily is a big need in the community. And
Yeah.
on top of that, also just there's certain things that I've seen, like installing Xformers is a good example.
Yeah. That can
Xformers
break
is really
everything.
hard.
Yeah.
It breaks everything, and it's because it requires a very specific version of CUDA and PyTorch to be installed in your environment. And if you don't have those, then it requires you to like build the code from scratch for your particular setup. And most people don't have, like build tools installed on their machine, like their Windows machine. So
Yeah.
um, having an environment manager would basically allow somebody like me to create an environment or a container to that has all of these things installed already. And then I could just give a link out and say, hey, if you want to try this new custom node, or if you want to try this new workflow, use my environment. And then you could just, set it up on your computer and not have to worry about installing all of these extra dependencies and having things explode.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal. That's the goal anyway for what I'm trying to build here. But like a sneak peek of like maybe what the UI is going to look like is, you would come to a page like this. You can create a new environment. I could call this like Akatz and specify like a ComfyUI release. These are all just optional placeholders right now. And then you have the option to either specify a Docker Hub image. So this is where you're going to download those environments from. Or if you leave it blank, it's just going to create a new environment from a particular and install like a particular ComfyUI version into it. And let's say you create that, you'll have this environment set up. And then if you want to run ComfyUI, you just activate it. It'll spin up this environment. It'll run the script to start the server, and then you'll be able to connect to it, just like you would through your browser. And if you want to deactivate it, well, actually, let me clone it first. So what you'll be able to do is like clone the environments.
All
So
right.
this is going to be useful if, for example, um, you're messing with some custom nodes and you want to preserve your like tried and true environment. You don't want to mess that
Or
up,
if
so
you're on a
you can.
project, like a project for money,
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
want to bust up your environment just to try some new stuff, right?
Exactly. So you can just create a copy and it'll just create an exact duplicate of all of your custom nodes, the same version of PyTorch, all the Python dependencies already installed, and the same version of ComfyUI. And then you can just click on here and it'll just activate it. It'll spin it up. You can connect to it like normal. And then when you're done with that environment, want to go back to your main environment, you just like switch back to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal, is to be able to like enable multiple environments, switching between them really easily. And right now I do it actually myself through virtual environments, like
Yeah.
virtual Python environments.
Yeah.
And so, I know how to do that because I play a lot with virtual environments because I develop custom nodes. But the average person,
It sucks for most artists. Yeah.
it sucks. It's not fun. And like I
Yeah.
totally agree that there needs to be a better way to do it. So yeah, this is just a sneak peek at what I'm building or working on right now to try and help potentially alleviate some of those
Oh
problems.
yeah, that's super helpful.
Yeah, so
Super.
stay tuned. Look out for that. I'll definitely, if I have any news or updates and I want people to test it out, then I'll definitely make some social media posts about it. So
And I'll retweet them.
that sounds good.
Hell yeah. No, I love this idea, especially for the like there are a few node packs that are just they just do not play well with others. We were talking about Mr. For Example's 3D workflow, incredibly powerful, incredibly hard to set up that environment. Like I think it involves a Docker image at some point. Like like if you
Yeah.
don't want to like lose your mind, you can just like spin up a Docker for it and stuff, and that kind
Yes.
of like thing that you just basically need a comfy environment for that. You don't want that to touch your other comfy environments, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is actually running on Docker. So
Oh,
Docker is sort of
perfect.
like
Yeah.
the underlying technology that allows for this incredible separation of environments, because it's sort of like and the reason why Comfy Manager hasn't integrated it so far, I believe, is because Comfy Manager is actually a custom node
It's
in
inside
ComfyUI.
comfy. Yeah.
It's already running inside of Comfy, and so once Comfy is up and running in some environment, it's already too late. So you
You're
need to
one level too deep inside your temple.
Yeah, exactly. You need to abstract it one layer out, and so that's where something like this could be useful. It's essentially acting as a launcher for ComfyUI, and so you can swap between different installations, let's say, of ComfyUI really quickly.
Hmm.
And of course, you'll be able to map it to your existing existing installation. So if you have a bunch of models that you want to reuse, then you'll just be able to like set the path to that, and it'll just pull from those directories. So it's not like you have to basically copy and paste a bunch of data over every time you want to switch between stuff.
Sick.
So
That's
yeah, so
amazing.
that's just a high level overview, sneak peek of some of the stuff I'm working on.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, as soon as it's done, I'll have it up on our GitHub repo, and definitely will be asking for people to be the guinea pigs and try it out and see where it breaks.
Hell yeah. Plus, this is possibly extensible to like spinning up a version of Comfy with a front end. Like you could take this pretty far. Make a custom interfaces for your workflows and stuff like that. Just spin something up that's like a more simplistic UI and stuff like that down the road. It's this is cool stuff. This is very cool stuff. We have some of that with like Comfy deploy and stuff, but it'd be nice to have this like super local and
Right.
don't always want to spin it up on the cloud somewhere. Sometimes you want to spin it up at home.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's been like the major problem is like a lot of these tools, a lot of these SaaS companies, like they're using the same technology. They're using Dockers to isolate their the workflows from each other. But it's all in the cloud, and a lot of times, you have to pay for it. And if you just want something local running on your computer, and you're just like, hey, I want to download, Akatz's X Portrait custom node, and I don't have to like think about setting it up so that it like it plays nicely with my current environment.
Yeah.
I can just go download Akatz's like workflow Docker image, which I already will have set up to play nicely with all of my workflows, all of my custom nodes. Everything will be installed. You just set it up, run it, and then it should just work.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's probably the future of the modularity of this thing is like the power users won't care. We'll just, keep breaking our environments or making new ones and stuff. But like for just an artist, like I want to try this workflow. I just click the button, spin it up when I'm done. If I don't like it anymore, I'll get rid of it. Whatever. Kind of like the Pinocchio approach of like taking all that the horse shit of trying to spin up a special Linux environment on your Windows machine to test out something you can play with twice.
Yes, 100%. It's so funny that you mentioned Pinocchio too, because I'm building the initial version of this Comfy environment manager in Pinocchio. So you'll be able to go to Pinocchio, like find the link to the repo, one click install it, and then you'll click on install. Like if you've ever used Pinocchio before, it's pretty simple. You just click install. It'll download the dependencies. The only challenge with this launcher is you might, if you don't already have Docker installed on your computer, you might have to install Docker. But installing Docker is
make a guide for
pretty-
that. It's pretty quick. Yeah.
it's pretty simple. Like literally, like you can download it for whatever platform you want, like Mac or Windows or Linux. Super easy to set up.
And then once it's running, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just you're just using Docker to do all this stuff.
Totally. Yeah. You set it up once, and then it just from then on, all of this stuff will just work. You can pull new environments. You can copy your own environments. Like it's a tool that'll be useful not only for you yourself, trying to download new custom nodes and setting up your environments, but it'll be useful to custom node developers like me, because I'll be able to provide you a ready to go environment so that you don't have to try and figure out how to set it all up yourself. Like I'll basically have done that work ahead of time. So all you have to do is get Pinocchio installed and get Docker installed and working, and hopefully that's all you need.
It's fantastic. Well, I bet your voice is cooked. You've been talking for 3 hours.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah,
that's what always happens.
Yeah, drink up. No, this was amazing, man. What a awesome top down view. You explained it all very well, and people can go back and just roll it back and look at all this stuff, and I'll start adding bookmarks and all that for the sections, and yeah, it should be nice. Nice little guide to everything. And yeah, all of Akatz's links are now in the description. So if you need to access anything that we're talking about here, it'll be in the description below. And if not, go to akatz.ai or go just talk to him. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. You're on Discord.
Totally.
Do you have a Discord, or you're just on Discord?
I'm just on Discord. I don't have my own. There's so many. There's
too many Discords. Yeah, there's way too many Discords.
Channels. If there's enough interest, I could create a Discord channel.
Yeah, you see how your community grows, because you've got enough tools that a Discord isn't a horrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Discord for Redream. So
there you go. Yeah, maybe repurpose that or something.
I'll repurpose it for.
I did that. I had my old Discord was for like my art stuff, and then just pivoted it to this because this makes more sense. People are gonna have questions about this stuff. It's
Absolutely, and it'll be a great place, like a knowledge base too, because then I can put links. I can make announcements, and
and you can pin like frequently asked questions and stuff like that. Frequently answered questions.
I was sort of trying to do that on Patreon, but they're not like the tools there are not quite good, like not on par with Discord. So
it's more like a blog.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So I will probably work on that at some point soon.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, and I think we'll probably end it here because I didn't talk much, but my throat is killing me. I picked up a nice little virus over in Japan. Just working it. I'm just working it down. Yeah, that's what's with all the coughing and sniffing. But as all things Japanese, it seems to be very advanced and cooking through me very quickly. So hopefully we'll be done with this soon. Just freaked out everybody on the plane, basically.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, thank you again so much for having me on. And
of course. Yeah, no, this was really amazing. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for showing us. Thank you for making documentation. And thank you for making the nodes. Oh, my God.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, anybody who has questions, just reach out. I'll be online. So.
Yeah, and you'll probably be in my Discord too soon, so you can, if you have questions, ask and help, and maybe we can help through there too. And plus, everyone who was here was on the Discord, so if you have questions, just ask and help, and somebody who knows something will probably answer, and if not, I'll try to get to it. But yeah, thank you everybody. Purz.xyz, patreon.com/Purz. Join the Discord, join the community, Creative Exploration on YouTube. I do news every week. Missed it last week because I was in Japan, but be back next Thursday with more crazy AI news. And I try to cover only the open source stuff, really. I kind of let the companies do their own marketing. So if you're wondering about news with like Runway and all that stuff, There are lots of people on YouTube that'll handle that. I'm trying to focusing on the tools that you can run at home for free locally. So yeah, I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out for 3 hours while we nerd the hell out on this stuff. And yeah, come back and skip through the video if you need to answer any questions and ask Akatz's GPT about in-depth stuff. Right on. Thanks again, and have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.